Chapter 0001, id. 3665. The huge space of silver gray is full of metallic texture. In the center of the space, a white sphere is suspended there, emitting a soft white light. Luhan appeared out of nowhere, and was caught off guard. He slammed onto the icy ground, and fell into a mess. After a while, he got up and looked at the surrounding environment. I'm not dead. Luhan's attention immediately turned back to himself, raised his hands to look, and muttered incredulously. The clothes he was wearing at this time were very tattered, and the black suit that fit well had turned into rags, not only torn, but also burnt. Just a moment ago, Luhan, a world-renowned game player, was participating in the World Game Exchange Summit. In view of Luhan's outstanding contribution to the game industry, the organizer took out the newly developed, holographic game system Game Cabin, and invited Luhan to the public. Enter the Game Cabin to experience. Luhan only remembered that after the lid of the Game Cabin was closed, his eyes were completely dark, followed by pain all over his body. It was the feeling of being electrocuted. Luhan knew at the time that there was a malfunction in the Game Cabin, and then he was in the explosion. Lost consciousness. The Game Cabin leaked and exploded. Where is this place? Hello, anyone? Luhan shouted, but got no response. Luhan couldn't help but wonder, this is the place where people come after they die. Luhan was not sure, because no living person knew whether a person would appear in another place after death. Congratulations, number 3665 subversive. A deep voice suddenly appeared, echoing in the space. Who's talking? Luhan turned around suddenly, raised his head, and looked around. He didn't see anything, except for the glowing white ball in the middle. Etc. Glowing white ball. Is it you? Is it you making a sound? Luhan asked, looking at the glowing white ball. It's me, the low voice responded. You can call me a subversive messenger. Luhan was stunned again. He didn't expect to get a response. More importantly, how could the scene here feel familiar? Is this the main god space? Luhan asked uncertainly. As a young man in the new century, Luhan has read many infinite stream novels. The main god space in it is very similar to the feeling here. Similar. The subversive messenger is concise. Then am I already dead? Luhan asked again. Well, you're already dead, but, the subversive messenger continued, as long as you complete the subversive task, you can be resurrected and return to the real world. I hope you can work hard and number 3665 subversive. 3665. What do you mean? There have been 3664 disruptors before. So many, what about them? Because they have not completed the subversive mission, they have all died. The subversive space rules. This space can only accommodate one selected subversive, and only after the subversive dies completely, can a new subversive be called. Therefore, subversive number 3665, you are the 3665th subversive to enter this space, and the only subversive that currently exists. Quote. I'm still. Really? Is this lucky? Luhan didn't know whether to cry or laugh. When he read the novel, his blood was full of passion. When it really falls on me, it feels completely different. The first 3664 selected people all died in the mission, with a 100% mortality rate. Although I don't know what the mission is, it's worth it without thinking about it. It must be super pervert difficulty. Luhan was still a little excited, because the protagonist of the Infinite Stream novel had grown into an existence close to a god. Ordinary people can only make fun of this, but now the opportunity is in front of Luhan. Which world will I go to? Is it the movie world? Luhan asked the question using the worldview of Infinite Streaming novel. Based on the two-dimensional world created by humans, systematically recreate it and add unique rules and restrictions. The subversive messenger said. Luhan nodded knowingly. The time is up, you should go. The subversive messenger said again, and the glowing white ball suddenly cracked, forming a dark door. It was dark inside, and nothing could be seen. Hey, Wait, I still have a problem. Luhan shouted hurriedly. He was walking forward uncontrollably, getting closer and closer to the black door. Tell me, why did you choose me? Also, what is the world to enter? You'll know right away. Luhan heard the subversion messenger's response, and then fell into endless darkness and lost consciousness. The wooden house room is not too big or small, and there are not many decorations. There is only a single wooden floor, 2 chairs, and a wooden frame with a water basin on the wall at the door. On the wooden slump in the corner, the 12 or 13-year-old boy was lying on his back. There was only one window in the room. At this time, a lot of heads were squeezed on it from the outside. The boys and girls looked into the room one by one. Won't he really die? How can you be a ninja when you're so fragile? No wonder you haven't graduated from ninja school at the age of 12. Deserving a beating. Humph. Over the top guy. Don't say it, he's pretty pitiful too. The guards are here, let's go. The noisy sound came from outside the window, and the people crowded by the window dispersed in a hurry. The wood collapsed, and the big boy suddenly took a breath, made a rapid sound, opened his eyes at once, and then seemed to have difficulty breathing, gasping for breath. Damn it, it hurts. Luhan felt like his whole body was slashed by a knife. The pain was everywhere. He rolled over and sat up from the wooden slump, biting Kiba and leaning against the wall. His forehead was dripping with cold sweat. This is... Luhan took a look at the environment of the room. The pure wooden structure had a very primitive feeling. He couldn't see for a while what kind of world this was because there were no obvious features. How did you do it? Is it dead? Suddenly there were some voices outside the door, including a cold woman's voice and a sincere response. The footsteps approached the door, someone came, and Luhan turned to look. The door opened, and the first door was a woman of about 20 years old, with blonde hair, extremely beautiful, and 2 men, about her age, with white hair, tall and strong, followed her in the door. Looks handsome, the other has long black hair, eyes as cold as a poisonous snake, cold temperament, and scary white skin. Luhan was stunned. He knew these 3 people, and they were all popular characters in a comic, and even those who had never read the comic would know their names, because above the heads of these 3 people were all looming words. Pretty blonde woman, Tsunade. Tall white-haired youth, Jiraiya. Haired youth, Orochimaru. The world of Hokage ninjas. Luhan immediately understood, muttering, and frowning subconsciously, the world of Hokage Luhan can accept, but why are there looming words floating above their heads? This feeling, how is it so like an NPC character in the game? Chapter 0002_Threat. Along with Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru, there were 6 or 7 people who came in. The leader was a middle-aged man with short hair, and the top of his head was displayed as Konoha Guard Squad Leader, Uchiha Gumu. The others were crowded at the back door. A member of the Konoha Guard, both with the Uchiha surname. Seeing Luhan leaning on the wooden slump, Uchiha Gumu looked surprised, as if he had seen something extremely abnormal. Don't move. Seeing Luhan's situation, Tsunade hurriedly called out, and appeared beside Mutu in a flash, and began to check Luhan's injury. Luhan blinked at Tsunade. Tsunade's skin was very delicate, her eyes were large, and her body had a special fragrance that was refreshing. It was so real, even the looming text on her head was really strange. Is it a gamified Hokage world? Is she real or virtual? Luhan thought to himself. Ding! Subversive 3665 is in a state of residual blood, please treat it in time. Suddenly, a cold voice that could not tell whether it was a man or a woman sounded in Luhan's mind. At the same time, an interface floated in front of Luhan, still translucent and looming, similar to the character status interface of an online game, but there were not many entries. Name: Luhan, number 3665. HP value: 1/100th. Stamina: 10/100ths. Spirit: 22/100ths. Mental strength: 17. Status: Remnant blood is weak. What kind of voice? Luhan had already experienced a lot of unbelievable things before. At this time, Luhan asked calmly in his heart, "You are?" "Hello, the subversive assistant elf is very happy to serve you." The icy voice sounded again, "You can call me, Elf." Elf. That. Luhan wanted to ask something, but there were so many questions, he didn't know where to start, and after a while he said, "What does 1/100th HP mean?" "Yes. Am I only 1% blood left?" "It's not," the elf said, "this is a conversion value. As a subversive, your body is different from that of ordinary humans. Even if you lose all blood, you will only lose 70% of the blood value at most. Value is understood to be your health, 100/100ths is the highest, 1/100th is the lowest, and at 0/100ths you will die." Quote. Why does it look like a game? You can understand that. So, is this the real world? Based on the two-dimensional world, Hokage Ninja, adding gamification program settings, subversives themselves must follow the game rules and restrictions, and except for subversives, other things in this world are real, so this is the real world. Quote. Tell me about it. Luhan didn't understand. For example, the subversive can see anyone's name, and there is a floating display above the opponent's head, but in fact, this is the basic ability of the subversive. The rules of the game give the subversive a pair of eyes that can see the opponent's name. There is no text on the top of the head itself. Quote. For example, if a subversive kills a hostile ninja, he may drop a ninjutsu scroll, but in fact, the opponent will not actually drop a ninjutsu scroll. The reason why the ninjutsu scroll appears is given by the rules of the game. Subversives, the ninjas of this world killing each other, this will not happen. Quote. It is also worth noting that if the subversive is associated with the opponent, there will be situations that follow the rules of the game. For example, the subversive obtains the critical strike ability. If this ability is successfully launched to attack the enemy will suffer multiple damages from the subversive attack. Or, the subversive gets the resurrection potion, and he can also resurrect the life form of this world. When Tsunade was examining Luhan's injury, Luhan was always dumbfounded, as if he was stupid. This provided Tsunade's convenience, and Tsunade's inspection was not affected in any way. What a tenacious vitality, Tsunade exclaimed in shock after examining Luhan. Her delicate voice was particularly pleasant. She looked at Luhan in disbelief, as if she was looking at some kind of monster. What's wrong? Jiraiya came up and asked, holding her chin in one hand, her expression somewhat cynical. At least 50% of blood was lost, 12 fractures all over the body, extensive burns, internal bleeding, spleen rupture, heart damage. Tsunade stared at Jiraiya with wide eyes, then turned to Luhan and exclaimed, with this kind of injury, he shouldn't be alive. Unbelievable vitality. Jiraiya was very surprised. She raised her hand and shook it in front of Luhan's eyes. Seeing that Luhan didn't respond, she couldn't help but say, but it seems to be stupid. You stand back, Tsunade said quickly, raising his hand-to-hand seal. Ninja, Yin Scar Healing. Tsunade's hands lit up with two blobs of blue light, which directly penetrated Luhan's chest, abdomen, etc. Luhan suddenly felt that his internal organs were wrapped in a warm, sore and painful feeling. Luhan knew, Tsunade is healing his own internal injuries. Watching Tsunade heal Luhan's wounds, Jiraiya retreated to the door and tilted her head to look at Konoha Guard Captain Uchiha Gumu. What about the Uchiha Fugaku people? Jiraiya asked. The Patriarch wants to see him, so he will go back first. Uchiha Gumu said respectfully. Go back. Almost killed someone, then went back. Jiraiya said sarcastically. Lord Jiraiya. Uchiha Go raised his head, neither humble nor arrogant. Our Patriarch, Lord Uchiha Yokoyama, is the chief captain of the Konoha police force. He has the right to handle this matter, and I think this may be a misunderstanding. Jiraiya grinned and stopped talking. Shelter. Let Lao Su try his son's sins. The Uchiha tribe is really shameless. Tsunade gave Luhan a comprehensive treatment and used as many as 11 kinds of medical ninjutsu. She shouldn't have done this. She just came back from a mission and happened to hear about it, because it involves the young people of the Uchiha clan. Patriarch, she just came to take a look. After treating Luhan, the three of Tsunade left together, with 2 members of the Konoha guards in hand at the door, and the others left as well. Luhan didn't speak. He was communicating with the elves and asked a lot of things. Dusk. The afterglow of the setting sun poured into the room through the window, a hazy color. Luhan was lying on the cold wooden slump, wrapped in bandages. His head was dizzy, but he couldn't sleep because his body was still in pain. Squeak! The door suddenly opened. Uchiha Gumu entered the door and walked to the edge of the wooden cave, put down the tray containing the porridge and pickles, and said indifferently, "Eat something before you die. Don't die, it will be a drag on my young master." Luhan opened his eyes slowly, tilted his head slightly to look at Uchiha Gumu. His eyes were cold. Uchiha Gomu is different from others, because other people's names are displayed in orange. Uchiha Gomu's name color is Yuhi color. Fresh as blood Yuhi. Colors represent different attitudes towards Luhan. Orange represents neutrality, and Yuhi represents hostility. The elves also made a very interesting metaphor, that is, orange characters can be regarded as NPCs, and Yuhi names can be regarded as wild monsters and can be killed. Little devil, I warn you. Uchiha Gumu squatted down again, pointed at Luhan's nose, lowered his voice and said viciously, "Our young master is not something you can provoke. Beating you is to look down on you. This time you are not dead, come down the next time is not certain. So you better be honest. Don't go out and talk nonsense. And, stay away from Miss Makoto. Don't have another next time, or no one can save you. Humph, do yourself a favor." Uchiha Gumu stood up after a threat, and swaggered away. Chapter 0003_Newcomer Gift Package. Luhan watched Uchiha Gumu leave, frowned slightly, and then closed his eyes again. According to the logic of infinite flow, entering a world will inevitably lead to trouble, so Luhan can understand his current situation, but there is a very critical problem that has not been solved, that is, Luhan has no idea what happened before. He doesn't even know what year Konoha is now, or what his identity is. Moreover, Luhan asked the elves, and the elves said they had no comment. Night, come. Luhan didn't eat, lay on the wooden floor and closed his eyes, and gradually fell asleep. Midnight. When the time passed to the first moment of the new day, Luhan's head seemed to be hit hard. Along with the dizziness, countless memories flowed into Luhan's consciousness. Those were the memories of Luhan's body at this time. His name is Han, he has no surname, only a one-character name, Han. Han was born in the 18th year of Konoha, and lived in a small village called Little Leaf Village, in the country of fire, which is a day's journey away from Konoha, a long way. People with the same status as Han, that is, orphans, there are many in Konoha village. Basically, they were brought to Konoha village by passing Konoha ninjas because of an accident in the place they were in when they were young. The same is true of Han's experience. When Xiaoyi village was in Konoha for 21 years, he was attacked by Missing Nin, the land of wind. The whole village was killed and injured. Han was a survivor and was rescued by a ninja named Konoha. To Konoha. After that, Han has been living in Konoha, under the care of Koji, Konoha's guardian, who, according to Kono himself, was once an orphan. At the age of 25 years of Konoha, Koji died in the land of rain while performing his mission. That year, Han was 7 years old and had already entered the ninja school for 2 years. Considering that Han was already quite young and had the ability to live on his own, Konoha did not arrange a guardian for Han. This year, Konoha is 30 years old and Han is 12 years old. His ninja talent is very poor. He has studied in ninja school for 7 years. He is still the tail end of the class. He has no hope of graduating. Therefore, he is often bullied in the class. Yu Ding's bastards would bully Han for fun. Other ordinary students have a good relationship with Han, but very few people stand out for Han when Han is bullied. Because Han has no support and poor talent, he can only be the lowest level person in Konoha village in the future. No one will offend those young masters and young ladies who can be called powerful for Han. Most of them seem to have a good relationship with Han. He just kept the bottom line of his kindness and didn't take Han as the target of bullying. Silent night, dim moonlight. Luhan, who was on the wooden collapse, slowly opened his eyes flickered and he whispered, "Makoto, lovely girl." Uchiha Makoto, born in the Uchiha tribe, is 10 years old this year, a very kind little girl. Han was beaten because he was too close to Makoto. The one who beat Han was the young patriarch of the Uchiha clan, Uchiha Fugaku, who was already 15 years old. To be honest, Uchiha Fugaku who was already Chunin. It's a shame to talk about beatings, but Uchiha Fugaku is used to being domineering and doesn't care about that. Ding! Subversive 3665 still has a newcomer gift package that I haven't received. Do you want to receive it? The elf's voice sounded. Luhan was stunned for a moment, and immediately said to himself, "Get it." Ding! The collection is complete. Luhan was stunned for a second, saying that he was finished, but he didn't get anything. The gift bag, where is it? In the space backpack. Space backpack. Luhan muttered. A space suddenly appeared in front of him, and a bag with a bow was floating in the space. Luhan, who knows Infinite Stream and is a professional player, stretched out his hand and took out the gift bag from the space without any obstacles. He sat up from the wooden slump, opened the gift bag, and saw 4 things. Yuhi-colored bottle. Blue bottle. Brown scroll. Golden scroll. This is a blood bottle and a blue bottle. There is such a thing. Those 2 bottles are too familiar. In the game, one is for blood, and the other is for mana. Subversive 3665. Now use a small blood bottle, which can restore 100% of the injury, and the small blue bottle is used to replenish chakra, and it is not necessary to use it now. Elf said. What are those 2 scrolls? Brown scrolls, any B-rank ninjutsu. Golden scrolls, any kind of Kekkei Genkei, open and use, and get them randomly. Kekkei Genkei. Luhan blinked twice, immediately picked up the golden scroll, and slowly opened it. The next day, early in the morning, Luhan left the cabin where he was temporarily resettled, walked through a small forest, turned around, and returned to his home. His home was also a log cabin. The location was very remote in Konoha village. Trees. As soon as he entered the door of his house, Luhan was stunned. Luhan's house is very dilapidated and small, with few furnishings. In the house at this time, a little girl with a pink face is sitting on an old chair. Her eyes are yuhi-yuhi, as if she just cried. The little girl is very beautiful, and the dress on her body is colorful and looks very expensive. Compared with the dilapidated interior of the house, it looks out of place. Makoto, Luhan called out. Uchiha Makoto, who was wiping away his tears, raised his head suddenly, looked at Luhan in surprise, and cried out, "Brother Han tilde woo 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 tilde they all say you are dead, don't tell me where you are, woo woo tilde it's all my fault. Tilde." Just 2 steps into Luhan's door, Makoto cried and threw himself into Luhan's arms. "It's okay, I'm not dead, they're scaring you." Luhan patted Makoto on the back. It was the first time he saw Makoto, but Luhan felt familiar. "Makoto, Makoto, Makoto are you here?" Suddenly there was an angry cry from outside. "How many times have I told you, that guy is dead? What are you doing here again? I warn you, don't interact with this kind of waste, and you will come out." Makoto panicked because the voice outside was Uchiha Fugaku. "Quick, hide." Makoto hurriedly pushed Luhan into the room, his voice trembling nervously. "Escape from the rear window." The rear window. Chapter 0004_Duel. Seeing Uchiha Makoto's nervous and pitiful appearance, Luhan felt a sense of irritability and annoyance in vain. How much evil did Uchiha Fugaku do? In the original work, Uchiha Makoto will become Uchiha Fugaku's wife in the future. Judging from the current situation, she will marry in the future. To Uchiha Fugaku, not willingly. It's okay, he doesn't dare to do anything to me. Luhan pushed Makoto's hand away and strode out. Don't. Makoto panicked and hurriedly ran after him. Makoto, you come out, I know you are here, someone saw you coming this way, don't hide from me. Uchiha Fugaku is tall, dressed in a capable ninja suit, with a half-length hair tied at the back of his head. He looks handsome. At the age of 15, he looks quite manly, but his eyes are somber and watery. His eyes, as well as the twisted brows, completely destroyed the handsomeness on his face, making him look extraordinarily vicious. Passing through the woods, getting closer and closer to Han's wooden house, Uchiha Fugaku shouted, his eyes were a little bit yuhi. Makoto is his clan sister, the one he chose, and no one is allowed to interfere. He taught Han a lesson yesterday. He thought that Makoto would see the real face of the trash, but he didn't expect that Makoto didn't get lost and returned, hateful. Makoto, you can't keep avoiding me. Uchiha Fugaku yelled again, approaching the hut, that guy is dead. You. Uchiha Fugaku's voice stopped abruptly. Luhan Shishirin walked out of the wooden house. Although he was still wearing no bandages, he didn't have time to change his blood clothes, but he looked good. With narrow eyes, he stared coldly at Uchiha Fugaku with a confused expression. Uchiha Fugaku was a little surprised. He knew that Han was not dead and was rescued by Tsunade-sama, but he couldn't walk so easily, right? That kind of injury, even if it has been treated, should still lie down for 10 days and a half. Good boy, you are so lucky. Uchiha Fugaku glanced at Luhan up and down, and grinned grimly. Master Tsunade's strength is really amazing, how did you save this waste of you? What a waste. Luhan didn't speak, he was observing Uchiha Fugaku. On the top of Fugaku's head is written, Uchiha Clan Young Patriarch, Level 20 White Silver Boss, Uchiha Fugaku, those characters with Yuhi are like bleeding. Makoto rushed out of the wooden house, saw Uchiha Fugaku at a glance, flinched again, hid at the door, stuck half of his head out, wanted to look out, but didn't dare. Makoto, come here, stay away from that trash. Fugaku noticed Makoto and hurriedly beckoned. Makoto shrank back into the room, Yuhi's eyes circled. Come here for me, Uchiha Fugaku glared, his voice stern. Makoto immediately started crying, sobbing, and walked out of the wooden house, walking towards Uchiha Fugaku. When he passed by Luhan, Luhan grabbed her wrist. Uchiha Fugaku looked extremely shocked and looked at Luhan in disbelief. When did he have the guts? You kid looking for death. Uchiha Fugaku yelled angrily. Before stepping forward, he rushed out like a tiger and a leopard, and his fist went straight to Luhan's cheek. Don't! Makoto screamed. A dodging body stood in front of Luhan, his eyes were tightly closed, and his arms were spread out. Uchiha Fugaku hurriedly stopped, withdrew his fist, and Yuhi's already angry face turned purple. Fugaku. Luhan put one hand on Uchiha Makoto's shoulder, slowly pushed Uchiha Makoto away, took a step forward to face Uchiha Fugaku, looked directly into Uchiha Fugaku's eyes, and said in a low voice, Duel, open duel. The time will be 1 month later. Do you dare? Do I dare? Uchiha Fugaku pointed at his nose, unable to believe his ears. Did this guy get beaten up? Uchiha Fugaku smiled, a vicious gleam in his eyes. He is the young patriarch of the Uchiha clan, but it is undeniable that if he kills people in Konoha village, even if it is not a capital crime, there will be a severe punishment, but if he kills people in a duel, it is another matter. Ninja duels are brutal, with a high casualty rate. And killing people in a duel will not be punished. After all, a duel is agreed upon by both parties. If you agree to a duel, you must be prepared. Originally, Uchiha Fugaku still had concerns. Yesterday, he almost beat Han to death, and the matter was very turbulent. If he were to attack Han again today, it would not be easy for the Uchiha tribe to protect him. Uchiha Fugaku did not expect that this guy would give himself the opportunity to kill him blatantly. Ha, ha ha, good. Uchiha Fugaku laughed, looking at Luhan, as if watching a dying reptile. Duel. I agree to a duel. A month later. I will. My hand. Kill. Die. You. Yeah. Luhan responded with a nasal sound, then raised his hand and touched Makoto's head, who was still crying. Uchiha Fugaku's eyelids twitched. According to his previous style, he must have done something to Luhan, but now he held back. Duel. 1 month later. Kill him in public. Uchiha Fugaku didn't realize that he had fallen into Luhan's trap, and Luhan had a month to breathe. No matter what he did this month, Uchiha Fugaku would not trouble him again. Ha-tilde. A whirlwind swirled around Uchiha Fugaku, and a middle-aged figure appeared out of nowhere, a ninja of the Konoha Guard. Master Fugaku. The middle-aged ninja greeted, and he leaned into Uchiha Fugaku's ear and whispered. Uchiha Fugaku's face changed and changed, his pupils contracted violently, and he was a little scared. After the middle-aged ninja finished speaking, he respectfully stepped aside. Uchiha Fugaku looked at Luhan, narrowed his eyes and said, Lord Hokage has already asked me about yesterday's matter, now you go to see Lord Hokage with me. Uchiha Fugaku suddenly stepped forward, approached Luhan, lowered his voice and said coldly, Remember, what happened yesterday was an accident. If you dare to talk nonsense in front of Lord Hokage, I guarantee you will not see the sun tomorrow. Quote. Luhan said nothing and looked at Uchiha Fugaku indifferently. Accident. Surprise your uncle. Chapter 0005_Vengeance is not a person. In the spacious lobby of the wooden building, a long wooden tower is placed on the innermost side, and a middle-aged man wearing a hat with a fire character pattern sits cross-legged on the wooden tower, holding a teacup in his hand, sipping tea silently. The first moment Luhan entered the lobby, his eyes fell on this person, the third generation of Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen. Sarutobi Hiruzen's name is orange, indicating that his attitude towards Luhan is neutral. Sarutobi Hiruzen in the lobby, there are 3 other people, middle-aged men in their late 40s, with the words, Uchiha Patriarch, Uchiha Henshin, on the top of their heads. The other 2 Luhan have seen both, Konoha Guard Squad leader Uchiha Gumu, and Tsunade. Tsunade stood sideways before the long tree collapsed, while Uchiha Yokoyama and Uchiha Goki kneeled respectfully on the futon. Lord Hokage. Lord Hokage. Luhan and Uchiha Fugaku came to the wooden collapse and said respectfully. Sarutobi Hiruzen put down the teacup, glanced at Luhan, frowned slightly, then looked at Tsunade again and asked with his eyes. But Tsunade told him that there was a child named Han in the village who was almost beaten to death by Uchiha Fugaku yesterday. But now Luhan looks like his face is moist, his breath is even, and his whole body exudes healthy vitality. If it weren't for the bloody clothes on his body, he really couldn't see that he had been beaten. Tsunade was also very puzzled. He immediately walked up to Luhan, grabbed Luhan's wrist and inquired, his face suddenly turned shocked. No injuries. Couldn't detect any injuries. Tsunade could not help looking at Luhan a few more times, then returned to Sarutobi Hiruzen, leaned in and whispered, Teacher, this little guy's injuries have healed. I told you yesterday that he has incredible vitality, that kind of the injuries are not dead, it seems that there is something more magical about him. Quote. Yeah, Sarutobi Hiruzen responded with a nasal voice and looked up at Uchiha Yokoyama. Sir Hokage, this is definitely a misunderstanding. Uchiha Yokoyama said first, Fugaku is definitely not the kind of child who will casually hurt people's lives. Yokoyama, what number of guard captains are you? Sarutobi Hiruzen said slowly. 3rd term. Uchiha Yokoyama lowered his head. You know our laws, don't you? Sarutobi Hiruzen said again. Uchiha Yokoyama's face changed slightly, he lowered his head and bit Kiba and said, Clear. Yeah. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Uchiha Fugaku again, and Uchiha Fugaku quickly lowered his head with frightened eyes. I ask you, what happened yesterday? Go back to Lord Hokage, it's just some small conflicts. I did do it, but I also wanted to teach him a lesson. I didn't want to kill him. Uchiha Fugaku said quickly, thinking of the words for a long time. Your name is Han. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Luhan. Yes, Luhan replied. What happened yesterday? He's going to kill me. Luhan raised his head and said, he threatened to kill me more than once. When the incident happened yesterday, many students from the ninja school were present and they could testify, and he just threatened me if I said honestly, I'm dead. You spit out blood. Uchiha Fugaku jumped up and shouted excitedly to Luhan. Lord Hokage, what I said is true. Luhan didn't look at Fugaku, and kept looking at Sarutobi Hiruzen. On the other side, Uchiha Yokoyama, whose face changed greatly, pulled a Uchiha Fugaku and asked Fugaku to sit down again. He looked at Luhan again. When Luhan first entered the door, Uchiha Yokoyama's name was still orange, but at this time, it quickly changed to Yuhi color. Obviously, he didn't take Luhan seriously before, he was just a poor guy who was taught by his son. But now, it can be regarded as a grudge against Luhan. I see, I will check what you said. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded to Luhan. Go first, I will handle this matter. Yes, Lord Hokage. Luhan got up and strode out. Leaving the wooden building, Luhan glanced back and sneered at the corner of his mouth. Uchiha Fugaku's threat, in his opinion, is quite naive, and it is not a person to take revenge. Although I don't know what kind of punishment Uchiha Fugaku will receive, it is conceivable that Sarutobi Hiruzen will not easily bypass the Uchiha clan. Luhan, who has read the original book, knows that the Uchiha clan has always been guarded by the Hokage of all dynasties, and the third-generation Hokage has even allowed Uchiha genocide plan. It is now 30 years of Konoha, and the Uchiha tribe is very powerful in Konoha, but it has been shielded from the core of power. For Sarutobi Hiruzen, it was an opportunity to crush Uchiha. Luhan returned home, took a shower, put on clean clothes, went out again, and walked to the ninja school. On the forest path, Luhan communicated with the elves while walking. How can I grow so fast? Perform a mission, or kill an enemy character, and kill a target of the same level for the first time, and the reward is rich. What level of strength is the 20 white silver boss? Excellent presence in Chunin. Do I only know their information through the text displayed above their heads? Yes. This way, Luhan was a little disappointed because there was too little information. For example, Luhan couldn't see the strength of Sarutobi Hiruzen, and even Tsunade couldn't see it. If you look at this world as a game, this is not up to the standard. Ninja School. Luhan didn't go to the class, but went directly to the academic affairs office, where he handled the withdrawal. Since it was during class time, Luhan didn't meet his classmates, so he left the ninja school directly, walked through the busy downtown area, and came to a building with 3 words floating on it, Mission Hall. The mission hall was almost crowded, with hundreds of people checking and handing over missions. 2 years later, it will be the 32nd year of Konoha. The Second Ninja War is about to break out. Now there are no major wars, but small wars continue. People are dying every day at the border, so the village of Konoha will issue a large number of tasks every day to spy on intelligence. Mainly delivering messages, and there are also very advanced assassination missions. When Luhan came to the mission hall, he naturally wanted to do a mission. He was a subversive, and he could not take the usual path when he grew up. Chapter 0006 _ The monster is coming. 10 minutes after Luhan entered the mission hall, he came out touching his nose in a burst of laughter. Idiot, you haven't graduated yet, go to school. Luhan was far away, and he could vaguely hear the mocking voice of a nasty guy at the entrance of the mission hall. That guy used to be Luhan's classmate, and he had endured graduating from school, now genin. Luhan did not receive any tasks in the task hall. Because he's not even a genin. There is no teacher to lead, cannot go out to perform any tasks. Killing chickens, looking for missing dogs, sending letters in the village. There are no such tasks, the woolen task hall. Luhan smiled wryly. He was indeed wrong, thinking about the world with the thinking of playing games. If it is really a game, in the beginning, there will definitely be some time wasting but not any difficult tasks to do. But there is no real game here, just some game elements. A lively street with people coming and going, this is the busiest street in Konoha. In Luhan's eyes, everyone has a name on the top of their head, and some shops also have text suspended above them, such as, weapon shop, clothing shop, ninja tool shop, ramen restaurant, etc. Looking around, there was an orange patch. Konoha had a large population and was very large. Most people didn't know Luhan, so they were naturally neutral NPCs. Luhan was walking on the street, looking left and right. This feeling of familiarity and unfamiliarity made him feel very strange. Elf, how is my ninja talent? Luhan asked inwardly. Excellent, Elf said. If I practice alone, learn all the basic ninjutsu, and then practice some C-level ninjutsu, how long will it take? How long will it take to pass the Genin exam? I can't answer it, it depends on how hard you work, but it is not recommended that disruptors 3665 grow by this method. Well, I understand, I'm a subversive, I can take shortcuts. Luhan nodded. The burst of aroma tempted Luhan to stop, and when he turned around, he saw that it was a shop with 3 words floating above it: ramen restaurant. Luhan was a little hungry. He rubbed his stomach, and felt his pocket. He still had some money. He was an orphan. He used to study at the ninja school. Entering the ramen restaurant, Luhan ordered a large bowl of ramen and found a seat in the corner to sit down. The ramen restaurant is open plan. There is only one lobby, 5 or 6 tables, and there are more than a dozen guests, mostly in 2s and 3s. Luhan is the only one who comes alone. Soon, the ramen is on the table. Luhan eats noodles while observing. To these guests in the noodle shop, there are old and young, and in terms of clothing, they are all rich, and Luhan may be the poorest. Ninja World has been peaceful for more than 10 years, and the villagers of Konoha village have also recuperated for more than 10 years. Although the war is approaching, it has not really started. From the scene in this noodle shop, you can feel that the atmosphere in Konoha village is very relaxed. The people live and work in peace. I'm really transparent, no one here knows me. Luhan bit the ramen and muttered. Suddenly, his pupils contracted violently, and he slowly put down his chopsticks. Another guest came in. This is a thin young man with a long knife on his back and a hat on his head. His face in his 20s is looming in the shadow of the hat. He sat down near the gate, called the guy to order a bowl of vegetarian ramen, and then poured himself a cup of tea and drank tea quietly. No matter in terms of dress or behavior, this person is not eye-catching. But Luhan was staring at him, because the top of this young man's head was Yuhi-colored, bloody Yuhi. A Megakure Scout, level 20 bronze boss, Thistle Mist. A Megakure village in the land of rain who entered Konoha village to spy on information, and his strength is definitely stronger than the average Chunin. Luhan wanted to report the letter, or shout it directly, to let everyone know that this person was a spy. Combining Han's memories, Luhan felt a sense of belonging to Konoha village, so even without those Yuhi-colored fonts, Luhan would still be open to others. The ninjas of Ninja Village are hostile. But he held back. Because this guy is an opportunity for Luhan. Konoha Hidden Village, but that's the case, it's so easy to get in, the people here are not prepared at all. Jiwoo sat at the table at the door, full of relaxation and contempt for Konoha. Soon, his desk is on the table. While eating noodles, he observed the people passing by on the street outside the door. Luhan has also turned his attention to the ramen. He only used his peripheral vision to pay attention to the Megakure Scout named Thistle Mist. This guy is obviously professionally trained. His gaze towards the street seems casual, but in fact just gathering information. Through the regularity of people on the street, we can judge the level of alertness of the residents of Konoha to danger, and the level of the patrol of the Konoha security force in the village of Konoha. Can I kill him? Luhan suddenly asked in his heart. Can't answer. Elf said. What's the reward for killing him? First kill a level 20 bronze boss. 100% will get a drop reward, the reward item is unknown. Will he be my first shortcut to growing up? Can't answer. Luhan didn't get the answer he wanted from the elf. After he finished the ramen, he took out the money and put it on the table, but instead of getting up immediately, he picked up the teapot and poured himself a cup of tea. After about 5 minutes, Jiwoo finished the ramen and quickly drank a cup of tea, then dropped the money and got up and walked out. Luhan also got up immediately and walked out. After leaving the noodle shop, Luhan followed Jiwoo all the way. The lush groves are far away from the busy city. It is very remote and no one can be seen. Luhan stopped and narrowed his eyes slightly. He followed him here for more than 10 minutes, but he lost his way and could no longer see Jiwoo's figure. Come on, come and kill me, Luhan muttered in his heart. Call. A figure suddenly appeared behind Luhan, and the icy blade ripped through the air, instantly piercing Luhan's body. With a poochie, the tip of the blade came out from Luhan's heart, with a touch of fresh yuhi. Little devil, you followed me all the way, how did you find me? Jiwoo's mournful voice sounded in Luhan's ear, with a playful smile. Your tracking skills are really poor, how can Konoha, you're such a rubbish ninja? I said that I was deliberately found and followed by you, do you believe it? Luhan said without turning his head, and at the same time glanced at his own health value. The vital heart was fatally attacked, and Luhan only lost 9% of his health. Blood volume, 91% left. Chapter 0007 First kill level 20 bronze boss. Ha, was it discovered by me on purpose? Jiwoo smiled, do you want me to take the initiative to expose myself? Then what? Catch me or kill me. Tisk tisk, unfortunately you have no chance. Tick, tick. The tip of the knife was dripping blood, and the icy blade was still stuck in Luhan's heart, which was a fatal injury. Pain. It was a severe pain that caused Luhan's body to twitch unnaturally, and his temples were already dripping with sweat. Rest in peace, Jiwoo said again in Luhan's ear. With a sudden return, the long knife was pulled out of Luhan's body, and then it was placed on Luhan's neck. Flower. Humph. Jiwoo snorted coldly, pushed Luhan to the ground, took out a handkerchief and wiped off the blood on the long knife, then looked up and looked around. He was already planning to leave Konoha village. After all, a person died, and Konoha will investigate. Although it is impossible to find him directly, it is safe to leave first. One last glance at Luhan who was lying motionless on the ground, Jiwoo put away his long knife and left quickly. Luhan suddenly turned over and sat up, his hand seemed to be stuck in the crack of the void, and when he took it out, there was already a bottle of blue liquid in his hand. Luhan quickly opened the bottle and drank the liquid in one gulp. In an instant, the surging chakra almost burst Luhan. These chakras cannot last too long, and if they are not used as soon as possible, they will be wasted. Bastard! The surging chakra seemed to give Luhan infinite power. Luhan bit Kiba and ran wildly, like a cheetah rushing towards food, turned into a glimpse, and approached Jiwoo in a straight line. There was a terrifying wound on his neck, and the blood from his heart was all over his body, looking terrifying. What? Jiwoo noticed the strangeness behind him, and when he looked back, he was shocked and widened his eyes in disbelief. The distance between the two quickly shortened. Jiwoo jumped back and pulled out the long knife again, and his face was ruthless. Although he didn't know why this kid was not dead, it didn't matter, just kill him again. Come on, kid. Jiwoo looked at Luhan getting closer and closer, and couldn't help licking the corner of his mouth. Luhan's eyes were fixed on Jiwoo. In fact, he also mastered AB level ninjutsu, but he knew that his technique was too slow, so he didn't plan to use ninjutsu to kill the guy in front of him. He jumped directly at Jiwoo. Poochie. The icy blade pierced Luhan again, but Luhan jumped directly into Jiwoo's arms, hugged him tightly with both arms, and fell to the ground. Jiwoo swears that he has never seen such a lunatic. There are no weapons in hand, and the movement skills are very poor, but they are not afraid of death. Go away. Jiwoo tried to push Luhan away. Rest in peace, Luhan said in Jiwoo's ear. Poochie, 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 Kai, 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 Kai. Luhan turned into a hedgehog in an instant. His elbows, palms, shoulder bones, spine, ribs, all over his body, up and down, white bone spurs were pierced at the same time. 8 bone spurs pierced the Jiwoo in Luhan's arms at that moment. Kekkei Genkei Shikatsumyaku, Dead Bone Pulse. The Dance of Golden Amber. Gululu. Jiwoo's eyes widened and he wanted to say something, but he couldn't say anything. The blood in his eyes quickly became fresh, and blood gushed from his nose and mouth. He felt the death of his life. After a few breaths passed, his breathing stopped and his eyes darkened. Bang bang. When Luhan saw the fireworks, they burst out of his arms. Venus was shining all over the sky, and the beautiful music was needed to set the atmosphere. More than a dozen items erupted from Jiwoo's corpse, scattered all over the place, all of them golden light. All visions, only Luhan can see. Ding! Congratulations to Subversive 3665 for killing the first level 20 bronze boss. The elf's voice sounded in Luhan's ears. Luhan let go of Jiwoo's body, stood up staggeringly, and touched his throat subconsciously. He could clearly feel the wound, but the bleeding had stopped. At this time, his blood volume was still 66%. According to the elf, if the blood volume is lower than 10%, it will enter a dangerous state and cannot automatically return blood. If the blood volume is higher than 10%, but less than 30%, the blood recovery speed will be halved, and if the blood volume is higher than 30%, it will have a normal blood recovery speed. So Luhan doesn't need any treatment, he won't die, it only takes a certain amount of time for his injury to fully recover. Luhan looked to the ground. Thistle Mist dropped a total of 13 items, each with a name text suspended on it. There are 5 basic ninjutsu techniques, including ninjutsu, clone jutsu, ninjutsu, substitute, ninjutsu, transformation technique, ninjutsu, breakaway, and ninjutsu. Kaden Fire Style Phoenix Sage Fire Technique, Kaden Fire Style Dragon Flame Jutsu, Kaden Fire Style Flame Bullet, 3C Level Kaden Fire Style Ninjutsu. Teishu, Ganghuan First Stage, Teishu, Strange Power, 2 types of Teishu. 1 small blood bottle and 1 small blue bottle. A golden ingot. 13 items, this drop rate is obviously beyond the norm. Luhan glanced at it and didn't think much about it. What the hell is the first stage of Ganghuan? Now that he is not studying, he waved his hand and dropped all the dropped items. All are included in the space backpack. It is not advisable to stay here for a long time. Luhan picked up the body and ran to the nearest small lake. 10 minutes after Luhan left, 2 Konoha guard ninjas passed by and found a lot of blood on the ground and some traces of fighting. They followed the blood and searched all the way to a small lake, where the blood was broken. Luhan threw the body in the center of the lake, swam to the other side, and after landing, he went straight back to his home. His home is very remote, and there are no people around, which is convenient for him. Otherwise, if he wants to let others see what he looks like now, he will inevitably be questioned. After closing the door, Luhan took out all the dropped items. Elf, these scrolls. Open it directly, and the subversive will have the capabilities above. Understood. Luhan opened all the scrolls one by one, 5 basic ninjutsu, 3C level Kaden Fire Style, 2 taijutsu, all master. Just punching a first stage, what do you mean? It's equivalent to having the skills of Teishu Genin. Teishu is only an auxiliary, in order to make the subversive more flexible in the fighter. Good. Luhan picked up 2 more small bottles, looked at them, and threw them back into the space backpack. He finally picked up the ingot. Really ingots, golden, the size of a baby's fist. What is ingot? Luhan asked. The sense of sight of this third-rate web game really made him unable to complain. Chapter 0008_RMB Player. Yuanbao is a kind of exchange certificate. Subversives can return to the subversive space every 7 days and use ingots to exchange items with the messengers. Elf said, there is no limit to the exchange of ingots, and they can only be obtained by killing enemy characters. Quote. Third-rate web game. Luhan couldn't help but complain. I killed a level 20 bronze boss, and it was the first kill, so I got an ingot. What can I exchange for an ingot? Any kind of B-level ninjutsu, some secret techniques, potions, and ninja tools. Remind Subversive 3665 that 10 ingots can be exchanged for A-level ninjutsu. Good stuff. Luhan's eyes became extremely bright. The ingot is worthy of its name. It seems that the most valuable thing he got by killing the spies from a Megakure village this time is this ingot. Luhan put away the ingot and opened his attribute interface again. Blood volume has recovered to 80%. Luhan touched his neck and heart. The surface wounds have healed, but it still feels a little tingling. At the same time, Luhan also found a problem. That is, there is an additional ability entry in the attribute interface. After the ability entry, all the abilities of Luhan's current master are listed. This is not the key is that there are levels. Grade C Kaden Fire Style Phoenix Sage Fire Technique LV1. Taiju Magical Force LV1. Grade means can be upgraded. This doesn't seem to make much sense, right? The power of ninjutsu can be improved by itself. The strongest characters in this world can only perform LV6 ninjutsu, and your upper limit is LV9. Luhan was stunned for a moment, and his heart naturally became excited. He immediately suppressed this excitement and hurriedly asked, it means that the same kind of ninjutsu, I can exert more power, right? Yes, beyond anyone, as long as you raise your ninjutsu to the appropriate level. How to upgrade? 2 methods. The first one, practice. You need to practice hard, and the level will naturally increase. What about the second? Reuse of the same scroll. For example, if you want to increase the level of Fengxianwo, if you use a Fengxianwo scroll again, the level will be upgraded to LV2, and then use LV3. If you use the same kind of ninjutsu scroll, you use 9, it will reach the full level and the power will be maximized. Quote. What needs to be reminded of the subversive is that when you already have a ninjutsu, the scroll explosion rate of this ninjutsu will be reduced. The higher the ninjutsu level, the lower the corresponding scroll explosion rate. What about the exchange? Can be redeemed repeatedly. Okay. Luhan suddenly clenched his fists. He liked this feeling. It was completely a sense of sight for RMB players. Although ingots are not easy to obtain, no matter what, Luhan's growth rate is far more than the so-called genius in this world. At this time, Luhan already had the strength of Genin, maybe even Chunin. In Konoha, it is easy to become a Genin. Even if you don't go to a ninja school, you can go to a specialized agency to be graded. To become a Chunin is very troublesome and requires a relatively complicated exam. Previously, Luhan had planned to take the grade test and become a genin before he could take up the task, but now he suddenly gave up this idea. Because he found that he did not need to take the task for the time being. He took the task in order to have the opportunity to kill, that is, to level up by killing monsters. He has now found a way to level up by killing monsters without taking quests, and that is to find other foreign ninja spies in Konoha village. The turmoil has begun, and the time for the outbreak of the Second Ninja World War is getting closer and closer. The foreign ninjas who entered Konoha village to inquire about news are not 1 or 2. It is difficult for others to discover their identities. Luhan can do it. Just do it. Luhan didn't leave the house until noon. The injury has fully recovered. He changed into clean clothes and put on a bamboo hat. This time, when he went out, he brought weapons on his body, all left by Han's late adoptive father Koji, a long sword, a dozen kunai, shuriken, and a few smoke bombs. On the high-rise building in the central and southern part of Konoha village, Luhan stood against the wind, with the hat on his head very low. He glanced at the pedestrians on the streets in all directions. He had to say that there were many spies. In just a few minutes, Luhan saw 3 Yuhi as a famous spy, but only one is displayed as a boss, which is a level 10 gold boss, the absolute elite in Genin. Level 10 gold boss, how about the drop reward? Luhan squinted slightly, thinking to himself. Hands colliding continuously and changing his gestures, Luhan completed the hand seal and disappeared into the tall building. Luhan decided to start with the level 10 gold boss. He didn't intend to ask for any information, because such a low-level ninja came to Konoha to seek information, not a conspiracy. At the same time, in the central and western part of Konoha village, the forest road leading to the Uchiha settlement. Uchiha Yokoyama walked in front, his face gloomy as if he was about to drip blood, and his whole body exuded a frightening aura. Beside Uchiha Yokoyama, Uchiha Fugaku walked dejectedly, his fists clenched, and sometimes he bit Kiba and gnashed his teeth, not knowing what he was thinking. The two have just returned from Sarutobi Hiruzen. Uchiha Fugaku's intention to kill Han was confirmed. Although Uchiha Yokoyama repeatedly pleaded with Sarutobi Hiruzen and agreed to hand over part of the rights of the Konoha Guard Force, Sarutobi Hiruzen still gave Uchiha Fugaku a severe punishment. "Father, I'm going to kill that guy," Uchiha Fugaku said suddenly, almost biting Kiba's voice. "Shut up," Uchiha Yokoyama snapped, staring at his son. "Father." Uchiha Fugaku lowered his head. "Call." A whirlwind suddenly rolled around Uchiha Henshin, and a figure appeared, kneeling on one knee and respectfully saying, "Patriarch, you are looking for me." It was Uchiha Gumu, Uchiha Henshin's hardcore confidant. "That brat called Han." Uchiha Yokoyama glanced at him and said, "I will give you a month, and after a month, I hope he disappears completely. No matter what method you use, remember one thing, do it cleanly, preferably it was an accident, and I don't want it to have anything to do with us Uchiha." "Yes." Uchiha Gumu respectfully accepted the order, and then disappeared in front of Uchiha Yokoyama. Chapter 0009_Hone. To the southeast outside the village of Konoha, there is a lush forest. Peach Ditch flew through the grass, looking to both sides from time to time, vigilantly paying attention to the surrounding environment. As a scout ninja of the Land of Water, although Daodiki is only a 20-year-old genin, he is the spy who has obtained the most information in the Land of Water in recent years. In order to become a good spy, you do not depend on your strength, but on the penultimate's ability to disguise, judge the situation, and never let up. This is the 30th time he has infiltrated the hidden village of Konoha to spy on information, and he is already familiar with it. Wow wow wow. Daodiki moved forward quickly, sometimes jumping up from the grass to the tall tree branch, sometimes hiding in the canopy, observing the surrounding situation. He has been very cautious, this is the reason why he can live until now. Soon, he rushed out of the forest, stepped on the water through a small river, and drilled into the forest again. After more than 10 seconds, Luhan appeared on the tree by the river bank, looked at the moving Yuhi-colored font, and frowned. This guy named Teodiki is the level 10 gold boss that Luhan discovered. Luhan thought he would kill this guy somewhere in Konoha village. Unexpectedly, after Luhan started tracking Teodiki, Teodiki seemed to have already, after completing this quest, leave the village of Konoha directly. Luhan has never found a suitable opportunity to launch. Time flies. After nearly an hour of fast movement, Peach Ditch came to a valley 10 kilometers southeast of Konoha village, and he finally stopped. This place is far away from Konoha village, and it can only be regarded as the territory of the Country of Fire. Here, even if there are ninjas from other countries passing by, Konoha ninjas will not easily find trouble when they see it. Safe. Peach Ditch found a stone and sat down, took out the scroll from his arms and looked at it. Luhan appeared on a tree in the distance, looking at Daodiki. What does this guy seem to be waiting for? Luhan thought uncertainly. Judging from the time, he had no reason to rest now in the afternoon. Never mind, kill him quickly and go back to the village soon. Luhan made up his mind and disappeared into the tree. Dao-Diki was looking at the scroll, and suddenly seemed to notice something, and jumped out as soon as he turned around. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The 3 kunai flew from Teo-Diki's previous position in a flash, and with 3 bangs, they were pinned to the tree side by side. Teo-Diki narrowly escaped kunai's attack, rolled over to the ground, already had a long knife in his hand, and looked up in the direction where kunai shot. On the edge of the grass is a 12 or 13-year-old boy with clear eyes and beautiful eyes. He is armed, dressed in a simple robe, and has no ninja forehead protection. This guy is very alert. Luhan narrowed his eyes slightly. It's dangerous. Dao-Diki was sweating coldly on his back. Both sides looked at each other vigilantly. Luhan knew that Teo-Diki was by no means an ordinary genin, while Teo-Diki was shocked by Luhan Kuwu's rate of fire. My friend, is there any misunderstanding? We don't know each other. Dao-Diki finally spoke, as if he didn't understand why he was attacked. There's no misunderstanding. Luhan looked at Teo-Diki, without a knife, holding a kunai in his hand. I have followed you all the way from Konoha village, are you waiting for someone? Exposed. Dao-Diki immediately understood, and his color suddenly changed, and when he flicked his hand, he was throwing 6 or 7 kuwu to Luhan, and he shot very simply. Luhan jumped to avoid. Dao-Diki had already rushed up and slashed at Luhan's shoulders with a fierce momentum. Luhan held kuwu in his backhand and connected Dao-Diki's 2 knives. When the 3rd knife collided with kuwu, Luhan pushed his arm. As soon as it was delivered, Julie moved forward and knocked Dao-Diki out with a knife. What a powerful force! Dao-Diki was extremely shocked. His face changed, and he mocked. It's just that the skills are too clumsy. Luhan took the initiative to rush towards Dao-Diki, and the 2 sides fought again. As a genin's Teo-Diki, he doesn't master too much ninjutsu, so he has always attacked Luhan with a knife, and Luhan is very happy to have a cold weapon contest with this guy. In fact, Luhan only needs to sell a flaw to Teo-Diki. You can trade a less serious injury for the chance to kill Dao-Diki, but Luhan didn't do that. He doesn't want to rely on the particularity of his body to win. He has just acquired some abilities through the scroll, and is happy to use this guy in front of him to hone his fighting skills. The breeze was blowing, the green leaves rustled, and the battle between the knife and kunai continued. Teo-Diki was more frightened, because he noticed that the fighting skills of the kid in front of him were improving rapidly. When they first started fighting, Luhan only showed his brute force advantage, and it didn't take long for Luhan's combat skills are no worse than Teo-Diki. This is because Luhan has adapted to the ability the scroll gave him. It's almost there, you can die. Luhan repelled Dao-Diki again and said indifferently. Kai. Luhan threw kuwu with all his might. This was a lightning-fast attack. Little devil, you can't kill me. Dao-Diki shouted angrily, and the whole person was illusory for a while, and in an instant, he moved a distance of 2 meters to the side. This is a high-speed movement type of telekinesis. Every time you cast it, you need to consume a lot of chakra. Dao-Diki completed the move, but after looking at it, Luhan had already disappeared in front of his eyes. Where's the person? Dao-Diki's heart beat faster. He turned around suddenly, turned around again. He stared at the surroundings, looking for Luhan's trace. Cadent fire style, Phoenix Sage fire technique. The indifferent voice came from above. Teo-Diki raised his head quickly, and there were several small fireballs in front of him. Teo-Diki dodged and twisted and jumped. Luhan stood on the tree and stared at Dao-Diki, and started ninjutsu again. Cadent fire style, Dragon Flame Jutsu. The hot flames attacked Teo-Diki in a straight line. Teo-Diki had just avoided the attack of a few fireballs. Dragon Flame Jutsu hit, and the whole person was blasted out. Golden fireworks soared into the sky. Teo-Diki fell heavily to the ground, and dozens of items exploded from his body, scattered on the ground. Ding! Congratulations to Subversive 3665 for the first kill of a level 10 gold boss. Am I already able to kill Genin easily? Luhan thought to himself as he walked over to Daodiki's corpse. Chapter 0010_kill streak. Luhan felt how terrifying the speed of his growth. Although he has only mastered 3 C-level ninjutsu, the skills of Gangquan and the bonus of strange power have given him an extraordinary fighting ability. After all, C-level ninjutsu is not something that Genin can easily master. Ordinary students from Konoha village who have just graduated from the ninja school are simply impossible to master C-level ninjutsu. Daodiki is definitely the top existence in Genin, but Luhan cannot lose to him in the duel of cold weapons, and he can easily kill him with ninjutsu. This has shown that at this time Luhan has no dependence. Special Body and Kekkei Genkei, the ability to challenge Chunin. It took Luhan only one day to walk the road of ordinary Genin for several years. Renminbi players are really good. Luhan pouted and sighed. Peach Ditch drops a total of 11 items. Sweden, Water Style, Water Body Art. Sweden, Water Style, Kurigakur Art, 2C rank ninjutsu scrolls. Small Yuhi bottles and 2 small blue bottles. 2 ingots. A good rear blade, a good scout kunai, 2 weapons, a long sword, and a kunai. Golden potion. 2 scrolls. Luhan opened the study directly, and the scrolls disappeared. 4 bottles of medicine are collected. The ingots are collected. The 2 weapons were put away and returned to study. Golden elixir. Luhan took it in his hand and looked at it. Only the words, Golden Elixir, were displayed on it, without any other words. Golden Potion. Only gold bosses can drop it. The drop probability is 100%. The elf didn't wait for Luhan to ask, and opened the Shikai release. The effect of the potion, within 24 hours after use, has 10 times the growth rate. It's 10 times the experience potion. That's understandable. Third-rate web game. Luhan happily put away the golden potion. Although he was very happy, he couldn't help but complain. Teodichi was dead, lying on his back on the ground, his mindless eyes looking up at the sky, his abdomen was completely scorched. Luhan squatted down and groped on Daodiki's body for a while. This guy still had some money on him, more than 100 taels. Before throwing Jiwoo into the lake, Luhan also searched his body, but got 20 taels. After the money was collected, Luhan picked up the scroll that Daodiki had seen before. This is an intelligence scroll, which records the discoveries of Teodiki in the past few days. Today's record is, it is rumored that Uchiha Fugaku, the chief of the Uchiha clan, intends to murder a civilian boy named Han. Today's rumor is that the 3 generations of Hokage summoned Uchiha Fugaku. And his father, Uchiha Yokoyama, speculated that Hokage would use this to rectify the Uchiha tribe, and the rift within Konoha's hidden village widened. Great! Luhan couldn't help but exclaimed when he saw this information. Expected of the Golden Boss, what happened in the morning, based on rumors alone, he sorted out this level of information, and what is even more incredible is that his speculation is likely to be correct. If you let him know that I'm Han, I don't know what to think. Meanwhile, a kilometer to the north. 2 figures were running wildly in the forest, one behind the other. The one in front was about 30 years old, with a full beard and a turban on his head. The one in the back looked less than 20 years old, tall and thin. Wearing a hat. We came out late, hurry up. Hope Sama won't be to blame. The 2 whispered, and the speed was a little faster. 1 kilometer was not a long distance for them, and the designated location was already in sight. There's smoke. The bearded man suddenly raised his hand and pointed. Something happened, the young man exclaimed. In the valley where the battle had just happened, some traces of the battle had not yet been erased. On a blue stone, a dark object was smoking blue smoke. At that time, there was a charred corpse. The bearded man and the young man jumped out of the grass and stopped moving forward, their faces changed. They didn't know who the body belonged to, but they could be sure what just happened here. Kurigakur spy, Level 10 Taihei Heavy. Kurigakure Scout, Level 10 Table Woodcliff Mountain. In Luhan's eyes, the names of these two people were all fresh yuhi. Since they did not use ninjutsu to hide their traces, Luhan could already see two lines of yuhi approaching when they were far away. Could that be Master Chi? The young Byaomuyashan looked at the bearded man with a look of horror. No, no. Bearded Taihajong shook his head firmly and said solemnly, Master Chi is the best scout, even some chunin have to be trained by him. Even a strong enemy has a way to retreat. This corpse. He should have been killed by Lord Chi. It is no longer safe here. Lord Chi should be the first. Kai. Before Taihajong could finish speaking, a harsh sound of breaking through the air suddenly sounded, a sharp sound that almost pierced the eardrum. Taihajong just opened his mouth wide. Bang bang. Kuwu pierced Byaomuyashan's head, and blood spurted out Taihajong's face. Taihajong wanted to shout and remind something, but it was too late. The sneak attack came too fast. Who? Taihajong asked in shock, jumping up suddenly. The harsh sound of breaking the air sounded behind Taihajong again. Taihajong turned around quickly. Two kunai staggered out. The icy blade hit the intersecting kunai, and the terrifying power was directly transmitted to Taihajong. The Taihajong in the jump was like a cannonball. It instantly bombarded the ground at a faster speed, forcibly smashed a big pit on the ground, and there was a sound of bone cracking on the body, and blood spurted from the mouth. The ground was smoky. Luhan stood on the tree branch with a long knife, and looked at Taihajong, whose eyes were as big as bull's eyes, indifferently. Taihajong had been seriously injured, and he didn't know how many bones were broken. Call. Luhan jumped down from the tree and stabbed Taihajong with a backhand, directly piercing Taihajong's heart. Taihajong hummed and died instantly. Kill two more. Two wild monsters. Strange power. It's obviously easier to kill ordinary genin with taijutsu, but it's a waste to use ninjutsu. I don't know how much Tsunade's magic power has reached. Luhan thought, leaned over and began to collect trophies. Two genin spies from Kurigakure village, not bosses, only revealed 3 items in total, namely a small yuhi bottle, a small blue bottle, and a crude kunai. After collecting all the spoils, setting fire to burn the body, Luhan set off on his way back to Konoha village. Regarding Uchiha Fugaku, Sarutobi Hiruzen should have already punished him. Luhan had to go back and find out what the punishment was. If the punishment was very serious, Luhan should be ready to deal with the revenge of the Uchiha tribe. Chapter 0011_Eat Well. A day later, rumors about Uchiha Fugaku being severely punished by Lord Hokage spread in Konoha Hidden Village. Originally, Uchiha Fugaku beat Han. For Konoha residents, it was just a conversation after dinner, and people who didn't know Han would not know. To find out who Han actually is. But it's different now. The name Han, this person, has aroused the interest of many people. Han dared to disregard the face of the Uchiha clan, and risk the complete anger of the Uchiha clan, saying that Uchiha Fugaku wanted to kill him, and I have to say, his courage is commendable. Therefore, many people mourned for Han. The way of the Uchiha people has not changed for decades, and there are even bets in private that Han will disappear or die, accidentally. Because the punishment for Uchiha Fugaku was so severe, almost no one thought Han would live forever. This noon, ramen restaurant. Luhan sat in the corner and ate ramen. He already knew about Hokage's punishment for Uchiha Fugaku. He heard that the Uchiha tribe even handed over some of the rights of the Konoha guards to Hokage, but the punishment for Uchiha Fugaku was still heavy for the Uchiha tribe. Hard to accept. Punishment 1. Uchiha Fugaku is not allowed to leave the hidden village of Konoha for 3 years, and is not allowed to perform any tasks for 3 years, and is not allowed to participate in any ninja gathering activities. Punishment 2. Deprivation of Uchiha Fugaku's inheritance rights to the chief commander of the Konoha police force. 2 punishments, the former is nothing, mainly the latter, which may even lead to civil unrest in the Uchiha tribe. Historically, The chief captain of the Konoha police force is all held by the Uchiha clan chief, and from the perspective of the Konoha village, Hokage has no right to interfere with who is the Uchiha clan chief, but Hokage has the right to decide who is the Konoha police force commander-in-chief. He can even decommission the Konoha police force. Depriving Uchiha Fugaku of the succession to the chief of the police force leads to the question, should he become the chief of the Uchiha clan? Uchiha tribe in the future, but cannot serve as the chief commander of the Konoha police force, and other Uchiha tribesmen serve as the chief commander. This will divide the power within the Uchiha tribe and cause rifts within the Uchiha tribe. If Uchiha Fugaku does not become the head of the Uchiha clan in the future, there will be no problem. The Uchiha clan is monolithic, but, can Uchiha Yokoyama be reconciled? Is he willing to hand over the rights of the patriarch to others instead of his only son? From another angle. According to custom, the chief commander of the Konoha police force must be the Uchiha patriarch. Sarutobi Hiruzen's punishment for Uchiha Fugaku is equivalent to depriving Uchiha Fugaku of the right to inherit the patriarch. Luhan didn't expect that Sarutobi Hiruzen would be so decisive. The Second Ninja War was about to start, and he wasn't afraid of the Uchiha tribe's rebellion. Look, it's him. Is he cold? Well, he's finished. The Uchiha will never let him go. It's a pity to be young. Luhan was eating ramen and vaguely heard some discussions. He didn't look up. He didn't know how much he had heard such discussions since the morning. A man in his 20s wearing a ninja suit with a headband and forehead came to Luhan's table with a plate, put the plate on Luhan's table, and then sat on the chair opposite Luhan. On the plate is a whole roasted chicken, fat and oily, full of aroma. Huh. Luhan looked up at the man opposite, and immediately frowned. Mr. Kuda. Orange name. Ninja school teacher, Kuda. This is Han's ninja teacher at the ninja school. He has been teaching Han for 7 years, and he has always looked down on Luhan. When Luhan talks to him, he doesn't care about him. Today's Kuda is completely different from before, looking at Luhan no longer with contempt. Han, although your talent is very poor, you are a good boy. Kuda looked sentimental, reached out and squeezed Luhan's shoulder, as if to encourage Luhan. Actually, I have an opinion on you, but I have some contradictions with Koji, so I don't like you very much, but I have absolutely no malice towards you. Ah, what do you mean? Luhan didn't understand. Kuda was too abnormal today. It's for you. Kuda pushed the plate of roast chicken to Luhan. Let's have a good meal. You may not have a chance in the future. After that, he patted Luhan on the shoulder and got up to face outside the noodle restaurant. Go. Have a good meal. Luhan blinked blankly, watching Kuda go out, and suddenly understood. Fuck. Have a good meal. Have a good meal. What's the meaning? Day. Am I bound to die? Luhan understood. Kuda thought he was going to die soon, so. Have a good meal. If you have a good meal, you can eat it. If you don't eat it, you won't eat it for nothing. Luhan murmured, tore off a chicken leg with all his strength, and ate it. In the afternoon, the wooden house. Luhan meditated on the stone in front of his house and felt the flow of chakra in his body. This is a kind of practice, and it is very beneficial for chakra control. On a small road not far away, 2 people came. The 2 looked exactly the same. They looked 16 or 17 years old. The one who walked a little forward had a bit of domineering on his eyebrows. Although he was young, he was very majestic. The latter one looks much more restrained. Luhan felt it and opened his eyes to look. All are orange names. The one in front is called Hyuga-Hiyashi, and the one in the back is called Hyuga-Hazashi. Luhan had read the original book and knew who they were. They were now the head of the main clan and the head of the branch of the Hyuga family. They were a pair of brothers. The 2 brothers stopped. Hyuga-Hiyashi said softly, "Are you Han?" "Yes." Luhan said simply, "I know you guys. No need to introduce yourself. Tell me, what's the matter?" "You're going to die, you know." Hyuga-Hiyashi said. "I don't think so." Luhan shook his head, helplessly. as if everyone thought they were going to die. I admire your courage, Hyuga said again. So, we can protect you. You can temporarily move to the gathering place of our Hyuga family to live. The arrogant Uchiha family dare not make trouble in our Hyuga family. Going to your place. Luhan looked at Hyuga in surprise, and then smiled. Thank you in advance, but I don't need it. Hyuga was silent for a while, frowned slightly and looked at Luhan, then extended his hand to Luhan, shaking hands. Luhan hesitated, reached out and shook Hyuga and asked, "What do you mean?" "I hope you have one more friend before you die." Fuck. Chapter 0012 Take a shower without closing the window. Konoha Hidden Village, the top of a tower in the north third block of the downtown area. The breeze was blowing, and the dark green gown swayed in the wind. Tsunade with picturesque eyebrows stood on the stone sculpture on the edge of the tower, looking into the distance with his arms crossed, frowning slightly, as if he was worried. Whoosh! Two whirlwinds suddenly rolled up on the side, and brothers Hyuga and Hyuga appeared out of nowhere and greeted Tsunade with fists. "Tsunade-sama," Hyuga said. "How's it going?" Tsunade looked at Hyuga and asked, "When did he move in?" "He didn't agree." Hyuga shook his head. "What? Didn't agree?" Tsunade looked surprised, her eyes widened. "Yes." Hyuga was also somewhat incomprehensible, and his brows were deeply wrinkled. "I have shown enough goodwill to him and promised to protect his safety, but he doesn't seem to care." Tsunade blinked in confusion, paused for a long time, and then sighed. "I know, thank you for your troubles, let's go." "Yes." Hyuga responded, and the two brothers' hand-seal left at the same time. Tsunade held his chest in one hand and his delicate chin in the other, showing a thoughtful look, and soon his face became irritable. In fact, it wasn't that the Hyuga family wanted to save Luhan, but Tsunade. In the hidden village of Konoha, the third-generation Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen has the supreme authority, and under him, there are different forces in Konoha. Almost every tribe can be regarded as a force. The arrogant Uchiha clan has always been strong, with many masters in the clan, and they have always rebelled, belonging to a force that no one dares to provoke. In terms of clan power, the only one who can challenge the Uchiha clan is the ancient and famous Hyuga clan, which has been passed down for thousands of years. With the decline of the Senju clan, the Hyuga clan has always regarded itself as the strongest clan. The relationship between the Uchiha family and the Hyuga family has never been very harmonious. The Hyuga family also has a very strong side. The Uchiha family, who are responsible for police duties in Konoha village, have never been able to use this right to punish the wrong children of the Hyuga family. Hyuga children make mistakes, either the clan punished them, or the third-generation Hokage personally intervened. The Uchiha clan was in charge of the Konoha police affairs, but they could not take care of the Hyuga family. That's why Tsunade found Hyuga's house. Tsunade just didn't want the innocent, Han, to disappear or die inexplicably, because it was she who reported the matter to Sarutobi Hiruzen in detail, which led to the current situation, bringing an almost irreversible death crisis to Han. Sarutobi Hiruzen wanted to take this opportunity to punish and weaken the Uchiha clan. He considered the overall situation and didn't care about the life and death of an ordinary boy, but Tsunade couldn't care less. "I don't know what's wrong," Tsunade muttered. Suddenly resentment arose in his heart. This evening, in the cold wooden house. Call. Luhan, covered in blood, appeared out of thin air and walked quickly to the small bathroom beside him. In one day today, in addition to practicing chakra, Han also killed 5 spies. All of them were level 10 bosses, 3 of them were bronze, 1 white-silver, and 1 gold. The level 10 white-silver boss was in the forest outside Konoha village. Solved, the others are in Konoha village. The main harvest is 2 ingots, a golden potion, a fine scout shuriken, a number of small yuhi bottles and small blue bottles, AC level futon wind style ninjutsu scroll, and AC level suigen water style ninjutsu scroll 1. There are also some completely useless things, a dozen crude weapons and equipment. Among the dropped items, the inferior weapons were of the same quality as the ordinary weapons sold by the weapon shop and ninja shop. The items with very low value that Luhan got were thrown directly into the space backpack. As for the sophisticated weapons, the quality is very good. Luhan only has 2 weapons now, the excellent scout blade and the excellent scout kunai. In today's battle, Luhan didn't use ninjutsu very much, he just relied on these 2 excellent weapons. It is easier to kill the enemy. Luhan was already a little dissatisfied. Today's result, this is the result of Luhan's special search for the boss to start. He saw no less than 20 Yuhi scouts a day today, all of them are level 10, that is, Genin. Apparently, Chunin spies are extremely rare, and if Jonin spies are there, it's impossible to say for sure. Because the daily task of spying on intelligence must be done by low-level ninjas. If it was Jonin, he would never do such a task to come to Konoha village unless something special happened in Konoha village. Outside the cold wooden house, Tsunade appeared out of thin air. Silently, she walked to the door, just raised her hand to knock on the door, but stopped, as if she heard something, and looked at the window not far away. The sound is a little weird. Tsunade frowned and walked over slowly. Take a bath. The skin is good. Take a bath. The skin is good. Tsunade walked to the window, his eyes suddenly widened, then he raised his hand to cover his eyes and turned away. Tsunade almost wanted to vomit blood, his cheeks were a little yuhi, this little devil, he didn't close the window in the shower. Luhan was sitting in the tub, humming a song while taking a bath, and suddenly he felt something, turned his head to look at the window. There was nothing outside the window. Luhan couldn't help rubbing his nose. In fact, he was always worried that someone would show up at the window and see him taking a bath, but he couldn't open the window. The bloody clothes soaked in the water basin was too bloody. After taking a shower, Luhan changed into rough clothes and went out without any weapons on him. A tree not far away, Tsunade was standing on it, but there was no breath. If you didn't look in that direction, you wouldn't be able to notice Tsunade's existence. In fact, Tsunade just wanted to leave, and she was a little resentful. She didn't want to be upset about this kind of thing, but she couldn't bear such a young life to die, so she stopped outside and thought. Seeing Luhan go out, Tsunade was about to show up, but he saw Luhan hand seal at the door, and he finished the hand seal almost instantly and disappeared in place. Huh. Tsunade was stunned for a moment. Luhan is a peerless waste. Tsunade knows it. He has been unable to graduate from ninja school for many years, and performing basic ninjutsu is not only slow, but also sometimes ineffective. Tsunade has investigated Luhan before, and he is very clear about this. But Luhan's performance just now did not match the rumors. Able to complete the hand seal in an instant and leave with the instant body technique is something that many chunin can't do. Among the basic ninjutsu, the basic instant body technique is the most difficult ninjutsu. Using sheer, graduating from school is almost a breeze. There's something wrong with this kid. Look where he goes, Tsunade muttered as the hand seal disappeared into the tree. Chapter 0013 Discovery of Tsunade. In the southwest of Konoha village, not far from Luhan's residence, is a small lake. The lake is surrounded by trees that are more than 10 meters high. There are dense grasses and vines climbing between the trees. It's a relatively secluded place, and the overall environment has a claustrophobic feel. Dusk is about to pass and the sky is getting darker. Luhan appeared by the lake out of thin air, looked up at the sky, sat down with his legs crossed, and began to close his eyes and meditate. On a high tree nearby, Tsunade appeared silently, frowning at Luhan, his eyes flickered, and he did not show up. Luhan's behavior is undoubtedly abnormal. What are you doing here? If it's a practice, why come here? This is not a good place to practice. It will be night soon, and it will be very cold here and there will be many mosquitoes. Time flies. Luhan meditated for a long time. When he opened his eyes again, the sky was completely dark, and a bright moon hung in the distant sky. illuminating the environment by the lake eerily. Luhan stood up and walked onto the lake. The water on the lake is rippling, and the ripples are subtle. Luhan stepped on it, and only brought more subtle ripples. He walked very steadily, and the chakra poured into his feet and generated the force of repulsion. This required a few subtle investigations. Control, in order to walk smoothly on the water. Tsunade hid in secret and observed Luhan. His expression became subtle. Luhan once again showed that he is not a waste. Luhan slowly exhaled, squatted slightly in the center of the lake, and then quickly raised his right arm. A long knife emitting a cold light appeared in his hand. Tsunade looked surprised. Her eyes widened a lot, because with her eyesight, she didn't even see that Luhan took out the knife from there. Luhan moved. He stepped on the water surface, dashed forward rapidly, then turned around and slashed horizontally, flipped to dodge, and then swept across the water surface horizontally, spiraling out the knife. His movements are extremely fast, showing pure cold weapon combat skills. Sudden. One more figure on the water. Another Luhan. As soon as this Luhan appeared, the knife-wielding Luhan rushed forward, slashed horizontally, directly cutting off the opponent's head, and the Luhan who appeared later burst into a cloud of water, and a large amount of water splashed around. Water body art. When the first water body was broken by Luhan himself, 3 seconds later, another water body appeared not far away, and the real Luhan approached again and smashed it with one knife. After another 3 seconds, another water body appeared again. Luhan approached again, breaking his own water body. Tsunade, who was hiding in the tree, couldn't help but open her mouth wide. She watched it for a while before she noticed that Luhan had done a one-handed hand seal, which shocked her. For any ninjutsu, it is extremely difficult to have a one-handed hand seal. Even some recognized geniuses can perform a certain kind of art with one-handed hand seal. Although the water body technique is only AC level Suiten, water style ninjutsu, if you want to learn it, ordinary genin can't do it, you have to be chunin, and if you want a one-handed hand seal, even jonin, not that kind, the genius of ultimate can't do it either. Luhan did it, and he did it at the same time as he used the body surgery knife technique. Naturally, Tsunade couldn't have known that Master Luhan's water separation technique was done through a ninjutsu scroll. What he needed to improve was the speed of the technique, and it was not difficult to master with one-handed hand seal. He's practicing, cultivating his Suiten water style ability, physical swordsmanship, and control over chakra. Tsunade muttered to herself. She could see what Luhan was doing. Relatively speaking, the consumption of chakra is very small, but it requires a water environment to perform, and the water body is only 1/10 of the strength of the body, so it cannot be used for fighting, and the biggest role is to confuse enemy. However, even so, Luhan couldn't do this kind of practice for too long. Soon, when Luhan broke his water body again, he stopped, sat cross-legged on the lake, and put the knife on his lap. Tsunade's face has become cloudy. She feels that she has discovered some great secret. This little devil, what is it trying to hide? Why does he hide his strength? Tsunade didn't have a thorough understanding of Luhan, but just judging from Luhan's performance just now, he was at least an excellent chunin. 2 days ago, he was almost beaten to death by Uchiha Fugaku. Why didn't he fight back? Tsunade suddenly sounded the terrifying vitality of Luhan. In fact, this is why Tsunade paid more attention to Luhan. As a medical ninja, Tsunade is always interested in this aspect. This kid, he is an orphan. He was brought back to the village when he was very young. He entered the ninja school at the age of 5 and never left the village. He couldn't be a spy, but why is he? Tsunade couldn't figure it out, and risked being killed without revealing his strength. At night, he secretly came to practice in an unmanned place. Obviously, the master has strong physical skills and can even perform ninjutsu with one-handed hand seal, but he is recognized as a super waste by the outside world. People are curious, and Tsunade has it. She's never been so interested in a person. Luhan sat cross-legged on the lake for a long time, holding a knife in one hand, propped up on the lake in the other, and stood upside down. Suspending oneself on the lake with only one hand is obviously more difficult than 2 feet. 2 feet become one hand, and the area of the hand is smaller, and the palm needs to send out a stronger repulsion. Tsunade watched closely. Luhan's palm suddenly shuddered, his whole body bounced a little, then his hand tightened, and he stretched out a finger, touching the water surface with one finger, and Luhan stood still on the lake. Tsunade's pupils contracted violently. Thrilling chakra control. Splash. It seemed that it was difficult to hold on, the water surface suddenly broke, and Luhan fell into the lake water. He looked a little embarrassed when he entered the water. Tsunade was startled, then almost laughed. Wow lala tilde wow lala tilde. The water splashed, and Luhan emerged from the lake again, stepping up step by step, as if there were steps in the water. He walked up slowly, looking very difficult. Tsunade looked at it, his eyes first stared, then puzzled, and then revealed an unbelievable look. The aura on Luhan's body became very unique, which showed that chakra was operating in a special way in his body. He walked to the water, holding 2 huge stone locks with a diameter of more than half a meter in his hands. Taiju Magical Power. Chapter 0014_pack. You go on pretending to me. No one knows better than Tsunade what taijutsu and strange power are, because she is the only master of taijutsu and strange power in Konoha village, so she can see that Luhan is not as simple as being strong. Luhan stood on the water holding 2 large stone locks. The chakra repulsion still exuded under his feet, and his body was full of strange power. Take into account both aspects. Although this was easy for Tsunade to do, what happened to Luhan made Tsunade feel incredible. Super Chakra Control. One-handed hand seal. Taiju Magical Power. Such a person has been unknown for many years. Being laughed at. Be beaten. It is a recognized waste material. Tsunade suddenly felt that the world was a little crazy. Luhan began to run on the lake, sometimes jumping, sometimes somersaulting, always holding 2 large stone locks in his hands, and sometimes he made mistakes, and was thrown into the water by the stone locks after somersaults, but he would walk up again or jump out. Continue this exercise. Regarding the practice of strange power and chakra control, Luhan practiced for half an hour, and then meditated on the lake. When the chakra recovered almost, he started the practice of slashing the water, then the handstand, and then the stone lock. This is a circular practice. From the beginning of the night until midnight, Luhan has been practicing this kind of cultivation. When the time passes midnight, he ends the cultivation and hand seal leaves in an instant. From start to finish, Tsunade saw it all. She didn't make a sound and didn't let Luhan find herself. In fact, she could show up to question Luhan, but she didn't. She wanted to find more things about Luhan, but Luhan didn't show much. But Tsunade also found out. She could see the main points of Luhan's practice, whether it was meditating, slashing, standing on the lake, or moving with a stone lock. The most critical practice lies in the control of chakra. As long as those practices are repeated, chakra's control will become stronger and stronger. A new day. When the sky was bright for a long time, Luhan woke up on time from the wooden collapse at home. Every time, Luhan would have a wonderful feeling. This world, to Luhan, was like a virtual game that was close to reality. It is taken out for the spirit of professional players, so it is always full of motivation. People like to dominate the game, mostly because of the unsatisfactory reality. Luhan now has the opportunity to truly reign as king and he naturally cherishes it very much. Dong dong tilde. There was a sudden knock on the door. Luhan frowned slightly, turned over and sat up, put on his clothes and opened the door. When he opened the door, there was someone Luhan didn't expect. Uchiha Makoto. Since the last time he saw Uchiha Makoto, Luhan thought that he might not see Makoto again for a long time. Because of the relationship of the Uchiha clan, Luhan knew that the Uchiha clan would definitely restrict Makoto and prevent her from meeting him. Unexpectedly, the little girl came again in a few days. What's wrong with Makoto? His face is so bad. Luhan asked with a smile. Makoto looked nervous and looked around again, as if he was afraid of being seen here. Brother Han, there is some money here, although it's not a lot, but I only have so much. Makoto shoved a small burden into Luhan's hands, and then turned Yuhi's eyes. Brother Han, go away. Leave Konoha village, it's better to leave the land of fire, the farther you go, the better. Why? Luhan was stunned and touched the small bag. Why did you let me go? I heard. Makoto seemed to be in a hurry, looked back quickly, and said eagerly, we clan, I'm sorry Brother Han, I heard them say they want to deal with you, you go. Come in, come. Luhan's eyes flickered, trying to pull Makoto into the room. Makoto pushed Luhan away, took 2 steps back, and shouted excitedly, come on. Brother Han, I will miss you, hurry up, don't ask. Go. Makoto cried, took a few steps back, covered his mouth and ran away, not even listening to Luhan's call to her. Luhan stood at the door in a daze, watching the direction Makoto ran away, feeling very happy. Makoto is a good girl, very innocent, very kind. The only sad thing is that she was born in the Uchiha clan. She is always incompatible with the style of the Uchiha clan. Fortunately, she was not born in the time of war. It is difficult for a person to be too kind survive in times of war. After closing the door, Luhan walked under the table and opened the small bag. There is a lot of money in it. Makoto is not low in the Uchiha clan, just not as good as Uchiha Fugaku. In addition to money, there are some more valuable but flashy things, such as jewelry, and delicate small daggers. Silly girl, am I sure to die? Luhan closed the burden. He had already considered finding an opportunity to return it to Makoto. Putting away the baggage, Luhan washed again and was preparing to make breakfast for himself. The knock on the door rang again. Who is it? Luhan walked to the door, opened the door and looked out, stunned for a moment, then pretended to be respectful and said, Master Tsunade. Is Tsunade? You're in good spirits. Tsunade glanced at Luhan, walked straight into the house, looked left and right, and sat down at the table. I haven't thanked Mr. Tsunade yet. Thank you Mr. Tsunade for saving his life. Luhan said. Yeah. Tsunade snorted and pointed to the chair opposite again. Sit down, I have something to ask you. Luhan sat opposite Tsunade and observed Tsunade's expression, not knowing why Tsunade came to see such a small person as himself. Why don't you go to the Hyuga clan? Tsunade asked directly. Luhan looked surprised. How did Tsunade know about this? Without thinking about it, he said, I don't want to cause them any trouble. Do you know that you will die? The Uchiha clan will not let you go. Tsunade's face sank, and he had to say that people are good-looking, and they are beautiful when they are angry. Well, I believe the village will protect me. Besides, it's not a big deal for someone like me to die if I die. Luhan pretended to laugh at himself, and kept paying attention to Tsunade's expression. Pretend, then you pretend to me. Tsunade thought to himself, glanced at Luhan with contempt, and paused before saying, Where did you go last night? Chapter 0015 Tsunade smells so good. Last night, Luhan frowned slightly and said confusedly, Master Tsunade came to see me last night. Yes, Tsunade nodded. That's really unfortunate. I went out last night and walked around the village casually. Luhan said without Yuhi's heartbeat, Master Tsunade has something to do with me. Tsunade narrowed her eyes slightly when she saw Luhan. She had expected Luhan to confess to herself, but it seemed that Luhan still planned to hide herself. Liar, why don't you tell me the truth? What are you afraid of? Tsunade asked with a half-smile. What is Master Tsunade talking about? Luhan looked like I didn't understand what you were talking about. Little devil. Tsunade suddenly stretched out his hand and grabbed Luhan's collar, pulled hard in his direction, and asked with a gloomy face, I stared at you all night yesterday, I know exactly what you did, and I want to deny it. Ah, that. Luhan was a little surprised and speechless. Unexpectedly, it was discovered, and it was discovered in only 3 days. Careless. In fact, Luhan didn't deliberately want to hide anything, he just felt that his current strength was too poor, and if he was called a waste, everyone would despise him, even the Uchiha family, so that he could calmly deal with the coming danger. Lord Tsunade, I think this may be a misunderstanding. Luhan said slowly. He deliberately said slowly, but he was actually thinking about how to deceive Tsunade. Speak. Tsunade let go of Luhan's collar, folded his arms around his chest, and squinted at Luhan. Lord Tsunade, what did you see? Luhan asked carefully. I saw everything. Specific. Boom. Tsunade patted the table, his beautiful eyes glared at Luhan, and he said, Little Slick. Do you think I'm lying to you? Do you want me to take you to the lake and demonstrate what you did yesterday? Don't be so fierce, I don't mean that. Don't get angry, Master Tsunade, anger is not good for your skin. Luhan laughed. Tsunade is a good guy, so Luhan is not afraid of Tsunade. Don't be sloppy, be honest. Tsunade subconsciously touched his face while he was honest. Explain what? Why do you hide your strength? It's a long story, let me explain in detail, cough, cough. Luhan cleared his throat, picked up the kettle, poured himself a glass of water, and took a slow sip. Tsunade is a little itchy with Kiba, why is this kid so annoying? Naturally, Luhan didn't mean to be angry with Tsunade, he just wanted enough time to make up the story. Actually, I'm really a waste. Luhan said. Tsunade stared. I'm telling the truth. At least 3 days ago, I was still a waste. Luhan spread his hands. Tsunade's face changed slightly, and he said thoughtfully, continue. On that day, I almost died. It was Lord Tsunade who saved me. After that, I felt that I was different. Luhan began to tell the story. Whenever I close my eyes, I can always hear a voice. Tell me to become stronger. I told him, I can't, but he said, I can, and then I noticed the difference in me. I ran faster, jumped higher, and had more strength. Before ninjutsu, which is difficult to learn, when I try again, it is easy to master. Actually, I am very scared. I don't know what's wrong with me. I even worry if I am being controlled by something evil. Make it up. Go ahead and make it up. Tsunade said coldly, clearly not believing Luhan's words. What is Luhan's strength? Tsunade already knows a little bit about it. She can be sure that no one can increase his strength from nothing to that level in just 3 days. There are so many monstrous geniuses through the ages, none of them have that kind of talent. What I said is true, I just suddenly understood, suddenly became stronger, and suddenly became stronger, I don't know why. Luhan defended. Then why are you sweetened, water style? Tsunade asked rhetorically. Luhan suddenly shut up, as if he couldn't speak. HMPH. Tsunade snorted coldly, I'm not honest until now, to be honest. Okay, I'll tell the truth. Luhan raised his hand in a gesture of surrender, hesitantly, took another sip of water, as if he wanted to say something but didn't dare to say it, before saying, I think I might be someone personal reincarnation. Click. Tsunade pressed the kettle with one hand, biting Kiba a little bit. She already had the urge to throw the kettle on Luhan's face. Look, you don't believe it. Luhan had such an expression as expected. I tell you, you don't believe it. If I tell others, will others believe it? Judging from your reaction, if you don't believe it, they don't either. Believe me, that's why I hide my strength. Because I can't explain it, and no one will believe it, they will suspect me. I am an orphan, I was born outside, no one likes me here, they think I'm trash, I'm an alien, I'm suddenly different, they will suspect me, suspect that I have a plot, and even suspect that I am a spy and a traitor. Lord Tsunade, do you know how disturbed I am? Do you know how painful I am? What can I do? Luhan, the more excited he said, the more he tried to squeeze out 2 tears. Tsunade seemed to be touched, and looked at Luhan with a complicated look. No one believes me. Luhan shook his head, his face ashen. Yuhi lowered his head with rims under his eyes. Quietly, Tsunade stood up, walked around the table and stood beside Luhan. Looked up, Tsunade reached out and took Luhan who was sitting on the chair in his arms. Tsunade seemed a little sad, patted Luhan's back lightly, and said in a low voice, "I believe in you, I believe in you." Fuck. Windfall. Luhan admired himself. Movie king. In the past life, I really went the wrong way, playing wool games and acting in movies. Oscar is at your fingertips. Sister Tsunade. Thank you. Luhan hugged Tsunade's waist with his backhand and buried his head under Tsunade's chest. He very slippery changed the adult's title to sister. Tsunade would definitely not care about this at this time. I'm going out for a mission today, and it will take a few days to come back. Go to Hyuga's house, it's safer there, and the storm will pass eventually. Tsunade said softly. Luhan didn't say anything and leaned against Tsunade quietly. He has only one feeling now. Tsunade smells so good. Chapter 0016 Revenge of the Uchiha Clan. Tsunade gently pushed Luhan away again, lowered his head and said seriously, "Remember, protect yourself." Sister Tsunade, don't worry, I'll be fine. Luhan pretended to smile reluctantly, which made people feel distressed, but please don't tell me about me, Sister Tsunade, at least temporarily, if I having something of strength exposed, there could be greater danger. Quote. I understand, don't worry, I won't hurt you. Tsunade nodded. Instructing Luhan a few more words, Tsunade said goodbye. She really had a mission, she had to go to fight with Jiraiya and Orochimaru first. Luhan sent Tsunade to the door and closed the door until Tsunade was far away. He suddenly turned around and clenched his fists, showing a victory jewelry. The strongest escape technique is mouth escape, and it's true. Luhan was a little complacent. In fact, Luhan understood that if it was a different person, it would definitely not have this effect, but Tsunade was different. She was a warm-hearted and kind woman on the outside, and a woman was always emotional and easily touched. In the woods. Tsunade walked unhurriedly, with a preoccupied appearance, always thinking back to the scenes he just saw in his mind. That child is so pitiful. By the way, he doesn't have any money. Tsunade suddenly thought of a question, stopped abruptly, thought about it, and then hand seal disappeared in place. In Luhan's wooden house. Tsunade appeared by the wooden table out of thin air, turned his head to look, but saw no figure of Luhan, but Tsunade vaguely heard a voice coming from the direction of the kitchen. Tsunade took out his purse and walked towards the kitchen. Approaching the kitchen, Tsunade gradually heard the sound of the kitchen, and his face became a little weird. Quote. Take mine and send it back to me. Eat mine and spit it out. La 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 la. In the small kitchen, Luhan was humming a song while sitting on the chopping board. Cutting vegetables in front of me, that look, that expression, that tone of voice, how could there be any trace of sadness, and the whole person couldn't be happy. Tsunade quietly appeared at the back door, looked at Luhan for a while, and silently put the purse he took out and put it back into his arms. Fraud. Liar kid. Tsunade felt like he was being fooled, and his eyes twitched in anger. Come back and take care of you. Tsunade bit Kiba, considering that the mission was about to begin and there was no more time to interrogate Luhan. She could only retreat first. She came and went, and Luhan was not there from the beginning to the end. Discover. The strength gap is too great, and Luhan doesn't have ears behind his head. If he knew he was exposed by humming, he would definitely break the damn habit. Before lunch, Tsunade, Orochimaru, and Jiraiya left Konoha fully armed. As Konoha's top Jonin, they will go on the most difficult and dangerous mission and will not return in a short time. Luhan only started today's action after confirming that Tsunade had really left. He has already taken precautions against Tsunade, and if he is followed again and exposes his killing of the enemy spies ninja, it will be troublesome again. This afternoon, Luhan killed a total of 3 level 10 bosses, 2 bronze and 1 white silver. The harvest was very small, and he didn't even get a single ingot. The only thing that was gratifying was the explosion rate of the small Yuhi bottle and the small blue bottle. Has remained the same. However, the elf said that with the continuous improvement of Luhan's strength, the effect of the small Yuhi bottle and the small blue bottle will be relatively weakened. Time flies. 2 days later, it was already the 6th day that Luhan came to this world. In another day, he would have the opportunity to return to the subversive space and use ingots to exchange. Luhan has been working hard for ingots, and 10 ingots can be exchanged for A-level tolerance. Technique, and Luhan now has 9. Sultry noon. Luhan was sitting at the window of the noodle shop eating ramen, sometimes looking outside. He hoped to see Yuhi's name, preferably level 20, Yuhi's hostile character at level 10, even the golden boss, the most outstanding genin. Luhan can also be easily killed, because there are too many kills at level 10, and Luhan is getting stronger and stronger. It is difficult to get better rewards for killing them. This morning, Luhan found at least 9 level 10 Yuhi names, but Luhan didn't kill them. He wasted his time and followed them to kill them quietly. It's better to use this time for cultivation. Dude, let's have another beef ramen, and increase the amount of meat. Luhan felt that he was not full, the bowl was almost finished, and he waved to the buddy again. The guy responded and went straight to the back kitchen to spread the word. Recently, I have become rich, and every time I kill someone, I can turn over some. Luhan spends a lot of money. In the past, he used to increase the amount of beef ramen, but Han was reluctant to eat it. A large portion of beef is more expensive than ramen. Oh, what a pity. Yes, good boy. In the past, he was frugal, and he was reluctant to eat or wear. It doesn't matter now. It is estimated that he also knows his own situation, eats and drinks, and waits to die. There was a deliberately low voice of discussion from another table not far away, but it was actually very low, but Luhan still heard it, and couldn't help flipping through Byakugan. The ramen with extra beef came to the table soon. Luhan's food intake has increased greatly recently, and he started to gobble it again, with a look of no worries at all. Several people at other tables who knew Luhan looked at it and sighed and shook his head. At this time, 3 more people entered the door. All of them are adult strong men, wearing ordinary commoner clothes and hats. The 3 of them seemed to be all the way, but they sat in different positions separately, and greeted the guys to order food one after another. Luhan habitually raised his head and glanced, and his eyes suddenly became condensed. 3 Yuhi names. Konoha Guard, level 20 bronze boss, Uchiha guy. Konoha Guard, level 20 bronze boss, Uchiha dolphin. Konoha Guard, level 20 white silver boss, Uchiha Calling League. As the revenge of the Uchiha clan finally here, Luhan thought to himself, naturally lowered his head and continued to eat noodles. He was almost certain. These 3 people are here for themselves. It is easy to deduce that, first of all, 3 elite chunins appeared in the noodle shop at the same time. They were clearly from the same clan, and they deliberately sat apart. Second, not all Uchiha people were hostile to Luhan. These 3 Yuhi names appeared at the same time. Here, it is very likely that the task for Luhan has been received. 3 chunins, one is in charge of surveillance, one is in charge of guarding, and the other is in charge of killing. If I am really a helpless person, I am afraid that I will be killed and no one will know. Luhan thought to himself. Soon after, Luhan finished eating the noodles, put the money on the table, got up and walked out. At the first moment when Luhan went out, Uchiha guy got up, put down the money, and walked out. Chapter 0017_Ghost Beheading. Luhan was not surprised that only one person came out with him. If the 3 of them moved together, it would be too dazzling. In fact, as long as one person followed Luhan, the others would be able to find him. Luhan still doesn't know how the 3 Uchiha guys want to deal with him. It may be killed by sneak attack in a place where no one is present, or it may be taken away with a sack first, or it may be framed by poison or the like. Luhan wasn't bothered by this, he didn't need to guess, because he wanted to create a chance for these guys to kill him directly. Leaving the noodle shop, Luhan walked out of the village on foot, walking along the crowded streets. Outside the village of Konoha, Luhan walked through the open space at the entrance of the village and came to the edge of the forest. He suddenly ran up and rushed into the forest. He used the speed of an ordinary person, not too slow, but not too fast. A few chunins were more than enough to follow him. Luhan ran for half an hour in one breath, and pretended to be tired and out of breath. When he came to a small river, he stopped and sat on the stone to rest. Uchiha Guy has been following Luhan closely. His tracking ability is very strong and he maintains a proper distance from Luhan. After Luhan stopped by the river, he also stopped at the top of a large tree dozens of meters high in the north. He looked at Luhan who was resting in the distance. In less than a minute, two figures jumped over and stood beside Uchiha Guy. Really Uchiha Dolphin, and Uchiha Humong. The three people, Uchiha Guy and Uchiha Dolphin, were both young, probably in their early 20s, while Uchiha Humong was 40 years old. The three people were mainly Uchiha Humong, who was the commander of the operation. Lord Humong, God is really helping us, we just received an order from Lord Gumu. This kid ran out of the village alone. It seems that not only we want him to die, but even God wants to let him die. He's dead. Uchiha laughed, looking extremely relaxed. This task was too easy for the three of them. Don't be careless. Uchiha Humong's face was expressionless, and his eyes under the hat looked particularly bright. It's very abnormal for him to run out like this. Let's see what he's going to do first. Master Humong, are you too cautious? Do we need to think so much about this kind of kid? Uchiha Guy squinted at Humong. It's always right to be careful. Humong seemed very stable, even if his subordinates were a little disrespectful, he didn't show any strange expressions. Then take a look, Uchiha said again, maybe someone is secretly protecting him. I heard that Tsunade-sama seems to be very interested in him, and even visited him. Riverside. Luhan rested for a while, pounding his legs and twisting his neck. He seemed very tired and sat on the stone without moving. Uchiha Humong watched from afar, never noticed any problems, and finally said, go. After killing him, the body will be burned, and the three of us will return to the village separately. Yes. Guy and the dolphin responded at the same time. The three of them jumped out at the same time, turned into a glimpse, and quickly approached the river. Luhan immediately felt it. In fact, the three of them still didn't take Luhan seriously, and didn't hide their breath. Luhan suddenly stood up, moved his hands and feet, rolled up his trouser legs, and waded into the river. Uchiha Humong immediately raised his hand to signal to stop. The three stopped on three trees not far from each other, all squatting and hiding behind the leaves. Luhan walked to the middle of the river, rolled up his left and right sleeves, and put his hands into the water. He seemed to be catching fish. Humong understood, looked left and right, raised his hand to signal to continue approaching. The three jumped into the grass and quickly approached the river in a sneaking attitude. Luhan seemed to have caught something, but he couldn't catch it. Suddenly, he dived into the water and lost his figure on the river. The three of Humong carried the long knives and rushed to the river at the same time. They stepped on the water and ran to the center of the river. Their expressions all changed, because Luhan seemed to disappeared. Cannot see. The water in the river was very light, and although the bubbles were surging, Luhan could not be seen. Where did it go? Uchiha Guy asked in confusion. Call. Water mist suddenly appeared on the river, from thin to thick, it seemed to be in the blink of an eye. Saninians on the river looked at each other. The water mist came very fast, and they didn't have time to think too much. In just a few breaths, the water mist was thick enough to ultimate, and it was covered in white mist, at least within a radius of 10 meters, and the water mist was still there. Rapid expansion. Sweden, water style Kurigakur art. There is an ambush. Humong understood, his pupils contracted violently, and he let out a shrill scream. At almost the same moment, the three Uchiha ninjas jumped in different directions, and they had to get out of the thick fog as soon as possible. Kai. The harsh sound of breaking the air tore a trace in the thick fog, hitting Uchiha Gai directly. Uchiha Gai's reaction is not unpleasant. He listened to the sound to identify the position, forcibly twisted his waist and escaped the attack of kunai, and at the same time, a figure appeared on the opposite side of him. Although it was covered by thick fog, the distance very close, Uchiha Gai judged who it was by the vague figure. "It's cold." With a knife in hand, he quickly approached Uchiha Gai. Uchiha Gai was extremely shocked. It was difficult for him to associate the ninjutsu that created the thick fog with the cold, but he was not ambiguous in his hand, turning from retreat to advance, and slashed forward swiftly and furiously with the knife in his hand. Kai. Luhan, who was rushing towards him, couldn't stop the knife at all, and was directly chopped into two ends, bursting into countless drops of water. Uchiha Gai's face suddenly turned pale, and all the hairs on his body exploded, because what he killed just now was water separation. Ghost of Luhan was already standing behind Uchiha Gai. Almost immediately after Uchiha Gai slashed the water, he pulled out a knife. The sharp and sophisticated weapon slid across Uchiha Gai's neck in an instant, and a huge head shot up into the sky. Uchiha Humong rushed out of the thick fog, jumped on the river bank, turned around with a knife and was on guard. The fog dissipated quickly. Uchiha Humong saw the Uchiha dolphin fleeing to the opposite bank. The faces of the two who were almost attacked were pale, and when they noticed the truth of the situation on the river, their complexions changed from pale to pale. River was clear, and gradually blood-stained Yuhi, and Uchiha Gai's headless corpse rose and fell with the waves. Nobody. There is nothing else on the river, it is empty. Uchiha Gai is like being beheaded by a ghost. The creepy and terrifying atmosphere suddenly enveloped Uchiha Humong and Uchiha Dolphin. Chapter 0018_Luhan vs Uchiha Humong. The bloody odor spreads with the wind, harassing people's nasal passages. The fireball-like sun hangs in the sky, emitting a heat that makes people sweat. However, the two people on the riverbank feel cold all over. Uchiha Humong's breathing became more and more rapid. He slowly turned his head, the three-tomo Sharingan in his eyes stared at the river surface. He wanted to find something, but found nothing. "Don't hide your head and show your tail, come out." Uchiha Dolphin screamed sharply. Boom! The surface of the river suddenly burst into water, and a figure jumped out, turned over in the air, and fell back to the water smoothly. Cold. His body was still dripping with water, his half-length hair stuck to his face, his eyes narrowed slightly, and he held the long knife tightly in his hand. "It's you. It's impossible." Uchiha Humong and Uchiha Dolphin exclaimed in succession. Han stood sideways, his eyes moved from side to side, looked at the two of them one after another, but did not speak. "Kill him," Uchiha ordered. The two people on the river bank moved at the same time and rushed to the river surface. Because Han was closer to the Uchiha Dolphin first came to Han's side and slashed at Han's neck with one knife. This knife was fierce and tore in the air. A sharp sound came out. "Be careful," Uchiha Humong suddenly exclaimed, and suddenly stopped moving forward. "Kai! Puchi!" Two different voices appeared. Uchiha's knife slashed into Han's body, and at the same time, another knife also cut off the dolphin's head. Uchiha's dolphin had no idea what was going on, and had already lost consciousness, immediately died. Only Uchiha Humong could see clearly. He saw that at the moment Uchiha Dolphin rushed in front of Han, behind the dolphin, another cold came out of the water. Uchiha Dolphin's attention was all in front. Even if consciously aware of something behind, it was too late to react. Crash! The coldness of the middle knife turned into water, flowing into the river. Who killed the Uchiha Dolphin? Shook off the blood on the knife, looked at the terrified Uchiha Dolphin, and said with cold eyes, "3 Chunin, the Uchiha people really look up to me. So I had to use some deceptive means. I'm sorry to scare you." Luhan's apology is frightening. Because he has already killed 2 people. 2 excellent Chunin. Uchiha Humong's eyes were like bull's eyes. He had never felt this way before. When the recognized waste material became a killing machine, the huge gap was unacceptable. 1-on-1, it's fair. Luhan pouted at Uchiha Humong and grinned, let's duel. Luhan killed the 2 of them by fraudulent means in order to have a 1-on-1 battle with Uchiha Humong. If facing 3 people directly, Luhan is not sure whether he can win the victory smoothly. After all, the strength of ninjas has been multiplied with cooperation, and he may have to pay some blood. What Luhan was even more worried about was that they would run away. If it is head-to-head, when Luhan kills the first person, the other 2 may run away, and when Luhan kills 2 people, the third person will run away. This is what upsets Luhan the most. If someone escapes back, his strength will be exposed. Then the next assassin of the Uchiha clan must be Jonin. So in order to avoid such a bad situation, Luhan made the most correct choice. There were already 2 headless corpses on the water, and the blood had completely dyed the river water Yuhi. Luhan glanced at him and was a little disappointed. The 2 level 20 bronze bosses dropped something smaller than half of the river surface. These things only Luhan can do. See, there are ingots, sea-level ninjutsu scrolls, and sophisticated weapons, but there is no Kekkei Genkei scroll that Luhan wants most. According to the elves, it should not be difficult to drop the same Kekkei Genkei scroll for the first time. Luhan killed 2 excellent Uchiha Chunin, and without this scroll, Luhan can only pin his hopes on Uchiha Humong. Who the hell are you? Uchiha Humong stared at Luhan for a while, and finally spoke. Han, you don't know me anymore. You know what I mean, that's not what I'm asking. Why are you hiding your strength? Is this important? In the next time, either you die or I die, don't waste your words. The Uchiha clan won't let you go. Uchiha Humong gave Luhan one last look, turned around suddenly, and ran away quickly. Luhan's expression changed, and he chased after him. Luhan has the urge to curse, fuck, this guy doesn't play cards according to the routine. After chasing and escaping, the 2 set off into the depths of the forest. The speed of the 2 was equal, so it was difficult for Luhan to be thrown off, but it was also difficult to catch up. In the vast forest, 2 figures moved quickly. Sudden. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Uchiha Humong suddenly turned around and threw a kunai to attack Luhan. Luhan, who had been on high alert, suddenly stopped moving forward. Just before he was about to be shot by kunai, hand seal disappeared in place. Luhan appeared on the book not far from the side of Uchiha Humong, and his hand was a kunai. Luhan Kuwu's speed is even faster. There is always a sharp sound of breaking the air, and Humong has a lot of experience in combat, so it is naturally impossible to die in this kind of attack, and he dodged with a dodge. He finally stopped running away and watched Luhan vigilantly. Luhan suddenly understood. Uchiha Humong didn't plan to escape at all, he just wanted to leave the river, because Luhan used more than one sweetened water-style ninjutsu, and sweetened water-style ninjutsu mostly relies on water in order to limit Luhan's sweetened water-style ninjutsu to the environment. Guide me from the water environment, you are really experienced in combat. Luhan said sarcastically. Shameless brat, today is your day of death. Uchiha Humong's mouth curled into a vague arc, backhanded the knife, and quickly completed the hand seal in one breath. Kaden, fire style, great fireball jutsu. A scorching fireball blew out of Humeng's mouth, rapidly expanding and getting bigger, hitting Luhan. Luhan quickly jumped to avoid dodging, and when the person was still in the air, he raised his hand with a kunai. Uchiha Humong jumped continuously, and several kunai flew by his side, and he kept getting closer to Luhan during the jump. Did you know, there is a spell that I haven't had the chance to use, because the opponent is too weak, but it seems to be possible today. Luhan and Uchiha both passed by. Dry tongue. Humeng didn't seem to be in the mood to talk nonsense. Throwing out a few kunai again, Humeng turned over and stepped on the tree trunk, his knees suddenly forced, and he shot at Luhan, and at the same time completed the hand seal on his hand. Kaiden Fire Style, Phoenix Sage Fire Technique. Hand seal in the explosion. Kaiden Fire Style, Dragon Fire Bullet. Class B Ninjutsu, Uchiha Hyumong paled in shock. Chapter 0019 Kekkei Genkei Sharingan. What are the consequences of C-level Kaiden Fire Style Ninjutsu for B-level Kaiden Fire Style? Although the distinction between levels is not about power, but about the difficulty of training. B-level ninjutsu is one level higher in training difficulty than C-level ninjutsu, but this is enough to show that B-level ninjutsu is stronger than C-level, except for some there are special exceptions. Generally speaking, the higher the difficulty of practice, the greater the power. If the practice is difficult, but the power is small, this kind of ninjutsu has long been eliminated in the long history of history, and there will be no inheritance at all. Phoenix Sage Fire Technique vs Fire Dragon Fire Bullet. Almost in an instant, the surging flames spewed out of Luhan's mouth devoured the fireballs one by one, and the terrifying power burst out completely. The gap in the space was completely filled with flames, and some trees were destroyed. In just one breath, a dozen meters in front of Luhan was already a sea of fire. No, Uchiha shouted desperately from the flames. He obviously couldn't believe that this 12-year-old boy, who was recognized as a waste, could actually use B-rank ninjutsu. It is also the high-level Kaiden Fire Style ninjutsu that Mr. Hokage 3 is best at. Fire Dragon Fire Bomb. This is a ninjutsu that is difficult for Chunin to practice, and the ninjas who can master this Kaiden Fire Style are basically Jonin. Luhan felt that the chakra in his body was instantly empty. It was the first time he used the Fire Dragon Flame Bullet. He just kept practicing the hand seal when he practiced before. The power of the Fire Dragon Flame Bullet also shocked him. Finally, Luhan finished the operation just before the chakra was exhausted. Without the supply of chakra, the flame of ninjutsu quickly extinguished, but some trees in front were lit, so it still seemed to be full of fire. Ding! Congrats to Subversive 3665 for his first kill of a level 20 white silver boss. The sound of the successful completion of the first kill sounded in Luhan's ears. On the ground where the grass has turned to ashes in front, Uchiha Hyumong's body still maintains a standing posture, but he has become a thin and charred corpse. The surface of the body is carbonized, and the dead can no longer die. Of Uchiha Hyumong, there was golden light all over the ground, all of which were dropped, maybe 20 pieces. Chakra saw that Luhan, who did not have much physical fitness, walked over unhurriedly, his eyes swept away, his eyes were suddenly fixed, his face was full of ecstasy, and on the ground on the right, the golden scroll lay quietly. There, a line of words suspended above, Kekkei Genkei Sharingan. Sharingan, ha 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 ha. Luhan picked up the Kekkei Genkei scroll, opened it directly, and the scroll disappeared. Luhan suddenly felt a tingling sensation in his eyes. He couldn't help blinking. Soon, that feeling disappeared. Luhan felt the whole the world has changed in his eyes. More clear, there is a sense of clarity when myopic eyes suddenly put on glasses. Luhan took out the knife and took a picture of it. The surface of the knife was bright enough to be used as a mirror. Luhan saw that his pupils had turned yuhi-colored, with Tomo beside him. Now perhaps only ecstasy can describe Luhan's mood. Now he has two Kekkei Genkei, Sharingan and Shikatsumyaku, Dead Bone Pulse. There are also B-level Kaiden Fire Style Ninjutsu Fire Dragon Bullets, Shikatsumyaku Dead Bone Pulse, and Fire Dragon Fire Bullets are obtained from the rookie gift package. These three abilities, plus taijutsu and strange power, Luhan feels he may already have the strength to fight Jonin, but he is not sure. Uchiha Hyumong drops a lot of things, because it is the first to kill the 20-level white silver boss, so the rewards are generous. Luhan didn't look at it much. First, he put it all into the space backpack, then completely smashed the body of Uchiha Hyumong and burned it. He used the sweetened water style to put out the fire in the forest, and then ran away at random. Although this battle was far from Konoha village, the thick smoke that was rising to the sky caused by the fire just now was likely to be detected by the Konoha scouts. Back to the river, the bodies of Uchiha Gai and Uchiha dolphins have been washed away by the river water, but the things they dropped are still floating on the river, and the power of water cannot act on the fallen objects. Luhan put away all the rewards and took a detour. Luhan and Uchiha Humong. Just 10 minutes after Luhan left, several Konoha ninjas appeared. Looking at the scene, the three ninjas looked surprised. At dusk, Luhan carried a branch and swaggered into Konoha village. Were more than a dozen fish hanging on the branches, and they looked fresh. Because Luhan was seen when he left Konoha village, he had to walk back in the normal way. He seemed to continue to disguise and buy more time for himself. Forest path in Konoha village. Getting closer and closer to home, Luhan suddenly saw two figures hidden in the canopy of a tree not far away. The branches and leaves were dense. In fact, it was difficult for people to see their figures, but Luhan noticed at a glance to them, because their name is Yuhi color. Two big Yuhi names grow on the tree, and it's hard not to see them. Luhan pretended to look at it casually, then withdrew his gaze and continued to move forward with a normal face. Uchiha ninjas on the tree changed and changed. They glanced at each other and saw the confusion in the other's eyes. When Luhan walked away, their hand seal disappeared at the same time. At night, the gathering place of the Uchiha people is a quaint house. Patriarch. Uchiha Go knelt outside the door on one knee. Come in. Uchiha Yokoyama's voice came from the door. Patriarch. Uchiha Gumu hurriedly entered the door. His face was very bad, and he said in a low voice, "That kid named Han came back at dusk, and it looks like he went outside to catch fish in the river." What do you mean? Uchiha Yokoyama frowned. Today I sent 3 ninjas to deal with this kid. Uchiha Gumu looked at Henshin carefully, a little afraid to say, the 3 of them should have left the village with Han, but they didn't come back. Didn't come back. Uchiha Yokoyama gave a majestic stare. Yes, the 3 Chunin. Humong led the team. Uchiha Gumu lowered his head lower. To deal with this kind of kid, you actually sent 3 Chunin. My subordinates are also trying to make sure nothing goes wrong, but it seems that something has happened. Uchiha Yokoyama's face became cloudy and uncertain, and it took a while before he spoke. What clues? In the afternoon, an external patrolling scout reported that there were traces of battle outside the village 12 miles to the southeast. Judging from the traces, someone performed B-level Kaiden, fire-style ninjutsu there. Uchiha Gumu said quickly, my subordinate presumably, Jonin is protecting the cold. Quote. Chapter 0020 special drop. Is Jonin protecting him? Uchiha Yokoyama's face sank. What do you mean by that? What your subordinates mean is that Humong and the others may already be dead. Uchiha Gumu knelt on the ground. My subordinates should be damned, causing this loss is their fault. Are you sure they are dead? Uchiha Yokoyama's face became extremely ugly. I'm not sure yet, but there are 9 out of 10. Gomyu was a little frightened, but he continued to bite the bullet. According to various traces and clues, it is speculated that Humong, Guy, and Dolphin should have encountered an ambush in the forest. Although they haven't found their bodies yet, they didn't return on time, they didn't leave signs or clues, and they didn't leave any information at the contact point, so I'm afraid. But please rest assured, the subordinates have a new plan, guarantee foolproof. Quote. You want to shoot yourself? Uchiha Yokoyama narrowed his eyes slightly. No, the patriarch listens to me. Gomyu lowered his voice even lower. Chilled wooden house. The doors and windows were closed, and Luhan sat cross-legged on the long log, with an oil lamp lit on the table beside him. In front of Luhan, there are more than 30 dropped items, including scrolls, weapons, potions, and ingots. Luhan is admiring his trophies. Among these trophies, except for the Kekkei Genkei scroll that Luhan has already used, the last thing you want is another scroll dropped by Uchiha Humong. Kaiden, Fire Style, the art of the Great Fire Dragon. This is Class B ninjutsu. It is a high-level high-power Kaiden fire style ninjutsu that is by no means smaller than the Fire Dragon Fire Bullet. Uchiha didn't have a Master B level ninjutsu, but he dropped a B level ninjutsu scroll. The setting is like this. Just like when Luhan killed a level 20 bronze boss for the first time, Jiwoo didn't have Master Kaiden fire style ninjutsu, and even he didn't know Kaiden fire style at all, because he came from a Megakure village, but dropped 3 Kaiden fire style ninjutsu scrolls. And Humong is good at Kaiden fire style but not Master B level ninjutsu, but dropped a B level ninjutsu scroll. This is a special drop, and this speciality comes from the first kill. This is only the case with the first kill, which will drop ninjutsu with no master, or even ninjutsu that does not have that kind of attribute. In today's battle, Luhan obtained a total of 33 items. Small Yuhi bottle times 6, small blue bottle times 5, poor weapons and equipment times 8, fine kuna times 2, a fine shuriken, and a fine longsword. These add up to 23. Except the potion is very useful to Luhan, the others are better than nothing. Grade C ninjutsu scrolls. Kaiden fire style Great Fireball Jutsu, Kaiden fire style Flame Bullet, Kaiden fire style Dragon Flame Jutsu, Kaiden fire style Phoenix Sage Fire Technique times 2. Grade B ninjutsu scroll. Kaiden fire style Dragon's Art of Howling Fire. 3 ingots. 1 Kekkei Genkei scroll. After all the equipment and potions were put away and the scrolls were all learned, Luhan not only mastered the Uchiha clan's signature ninjutsu Great Fireball Jutsu, but also upgraded the Fireball and Dragon Flame Jutsu to LV2, and the Phoenix Sage Fire Technique to LV3. Of course, the most important thing is the technique of the Arrogant Fire Dragon. After packing everything up, Luhan started to think. He was thinking about how to go in the future. If you kill spies, there are too few chunin, there is no need to kill genin, and Luhan feels that he is growing too fast, which is a good thing, but the chakra is a bit underwhelming. Elf, how can I have more chakra? I'm not talking about the small blue bottle, I'm talking about a permanent increase. Luhan asked in his heart. First of all, please pay attention to Subversive 3665. If you want to permanently improve chakra, it is not to practice chakra. Chakra is transformed from the combination of physical energy and spiritual energy, and it can also be understood as the combination of physical energy and spiritual power. I know, and then what? The number of cells in the human body is almost the same, there are as many as tens of trillions. The spiritual power will absorb the body energy from each cell and convert it into chakra. The stronger the spiritual power, the more chakra will be converted. Ordinary genin can convert 1 unit of chakra from a cell, and jonin can convert 10 units, or even tens of units of chakra. Quote. So if you want to have more chakra, you need stronger mental power. There is a drop item called Spiritual Potion. Generally, if you kill a level 30 enemy character, you will have a chance to drop it. In the subversive space, 10 ingots can be exchanged for a psychic potion. Of course, you can also directly cultivate spiritual power. Level 30. Is it Jonin? Yes. Am I going to win now? Can't answer. When I didn't ask. Luhan touched his nose. Growing up too fast really put a lot of pressure on him, because everyone else only acquired ninjutsu through training again and again. To hone mental strength, Luhan obtained it directly through the scroll, without the process of hone mental strength. Although he is also practicing hard, he has only been in this world for 6 days. In 6 days, no matter how hard he works, his spiritual strength will not improve too much. Spiritual medicine. I have 12 ingots now. I can enter the subversive space tomorrow. 10 ingots can be exchanged for A-level ninjutsu, and also can be exchanged for spiritual medicine. Not enough, really not enough. The next afternoon, in the dense forest at the back of the village of Konoha. You. Who are you? You. The middle-aged man who was pierced by a long knife in his heart trembled and said, his eyes were bloody Yuhi, he was vomiting blood, and he looked extremely excited. The scout will die in the hands of this little devil in front of him. Luhan wore a bamboo hat on his head and held the handle of the knife in his hand. When he twisted it hard, the blade suddenly made a circle in the middle-aged man's heart. The middle-aged man shook violently, his eyes froze, and he died. With a wave of his hand, Luhan put away all the fallen objects and set fire to the corpse to ashes. This is the second spy he killed today. Both are level 20 bronze bosses. During this period, he has seen no less than 20 genins. Spies, but none were killed. Chilled wooden house. Tsunade, who was wearing a dusty ninja uniform, folded his arms and folded his chest, walked around the house, and muttered dissatisfiedly, "Where has this kid gone? It's dishonest all day long." Tsunade just came back from the mission and came to see Luhan dead or not, but no one in the house. Call. A whirlwind suddenly engulfed the house, and Luhan, who was carrying a knife and blood on his clothes, appeared out of thin air, and was suddenly stunned. Tsunade was also stunned. Eyes wide open. No one could speak for a while.